Chapter 2105. The black and white eggs cried out endlessly in the lightning sea. However, since they already went down, there was no point in going back up. Together with the desolate slave soul reaper, the black and white eggs started searching for Xiao Chun in the lightning sea. The lightning sea before them was truly a vast ocean that filled the entire secret realm, stretching out as far as the eye could see. It was no exaggeration to say that searching for a person was like searching for a needle in a haystack. The most important thing was that this was a sea of lightning. Soul energy could not penetrate it at all. When the viscous seawater touched it lightly, sparks flew everywhere, crackling and exploding non-stop. Undercurrents surged in the seawater. Occasionally, huge waves surged up. Even sovereign personages had to retreat. Otherwise, they would either die or be injured. Fortunately, the black and white eggs and the desolate slave soul reaper were not human cultivators, and did not have bodies of flesh and blood. Otherwise, they would not last long in this lightning sea. What a huge wave! The energy in this water is chaotic. It is really hard to find him. Black Egg dived for a while before flying out, kicking up a wave and sending out electric light. Z, z, z. Electric sparks flickered endlessly. The black and white eggs were at their wits' end. This was really hard to find. Walking in this lightning sea was extremely difficult. The undercurrents surged in the water. Xiao Chun's body was definitely not where it was originally. If the undercurrents swept up Xiao Chun and got carried away, there would be no way to find him. The black and white eggs could only wait for the lightning sea to scatter before starting their search. However, it was hard to say whether they could find Xiao Chun at that time. The desolate slave soul reaper walked in the lightning sea and arrived at the place where Xiao Chun underwent his tribulation. Its huge body half knelt in the sea. It stretched its hand down and searched around, but it could not find anything. Do you think Egg got blasted into nothing by the lightning sea at the last moment? White Egg asked somewhat worriedly. Right now, it was very difficult for them to walk in the water. It was hard to imagine how Xiao Chun, who had endured the impact of the seawater, and then got submerged, could survive. Black Egg looked at the lightning sea and said helplessly, "Stop speaking nonsense. How can an acquired divine body that awakened once be destroyed so easily? His physical body is definitely still there. Whether he is dead or alive is hard to say." Poor Egg. Boom. On the vast ocean, a wave surged. The wave was 1,000 feet high, and there seemed to be a figure on the top of the wave. "It's Dandan." White Egg's eyes lit up as it exclaimed in pleasant surprise. So. Black and White Egg got up at the same time and chased after the surging waves. They had to catch Xiao Chun before he went down. Otherwise, if he sank to the bottom of the sea, no one knew when he would reappear again. However, as the waves slowly sank, the black and white eggs were still some distance away. Shwa. Just as the black and white eggs felt helpless, Xiao Chun's sinking physical body flew up ferociously. It was the desolate slave soul reaper. It pulled Xiao Chun over with a palm strike and took a look. Then he slowly put down Xiao Chun and gently tossed him to the black and white eggs before returning alone. "He's still alive. He did not die. It looks like it was as that old dragon said." Xiao Chun managed to comprehend the Thunder Dao domain at the last moment. "Hurry up and go up." After checking Xiao Chun's aura, the black and white eggs rejoiced. When they turned their heads to look for the desolate slave soul reaper, it was already nowhere to be seen. Xiao Chun felt very tired. His eyelids felt heavy, and he could not open his eyes. Xiao Chun's consciousness turned blurry, not knowing what happened. He tried to open his eyes but could only open a crack. Through the crack, Xiao Chun seemed to see the black and white eggs. Then he fell unconscious. When Xiao Chun woke up again, 6 days had passed. When Xiao Chun opened his eyes, the familiar blood moon hanging high in the sky entered his eyes. "You're awake?" A voice rang out by Xiao Chun's ear. It was White Egg's voice. Xiao Chun stood up and moved slightly. Then he heard the bones in his entire body crackle like beans being fried, giving off crunching sounds. After the sounds faded, Xiao Chun stretched his body and immediately felt incredibly comfortable, delighted. Xiao Chun clenched his fist. The energy contained in his hand delighted him. "How long did I sleep for?" Xiao Chun asked Black Egg. He remembered comprehending the Thunder Dao domain at the last moment. However, before Xiao Chun could feel happy, A pile of silver light struck him and sent him into a severe coma. Feeling like he had slept for too long, Xiaochen worried that he would miss the Heavenly Alliance's second stage of the test. 6 days. Black Egg said to Xiaochen as he leaned over. Since when was there a sea? Xiaochen turned his head to take a look and was startled. He saw a boundless ocean at the bottom of the cliff. Haha, look at how frightened you are. This is after the tide ebbed. The previous few times, the entire secret realm was flooded. What did you think it was? A sea of lightning. Thanks to you, this is your 9th wave of tribulation lightning. Back then, the two of us were badly frightened. That old dragon in the city said that it was some sea of lightning in the primal chaos space. I wonder how it became your tribulation lightning. Speaking of this, you have to thank us properly. Right. Back then, this sea drowned you, and we did not even know if you were dead or alive. The two of us nearly lost our lives when we went down to fish you up. That was a vast sea. It was difficult to move. Don't forget how good we were to you, Egg. The black and white eggs revealed their chatty nature once more. Xiaochen only said one sentence, and the two of them started talking again, preventing him from interrupting. However, Xiaochen finally understood what was going on. When he stood up and looked at the sea below, he immediately felt some lingering fear. Fortunately, he had successfully comprehended a Dao domain and broken through to the final layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. With this tribulation, Xiaochen could be considered to have undergone a nirvanic rebirth, undergoing a complete transformation. That's right. The two of us have already adjusted to peak sovereign personage. Come Egg. Let's fight against each other. Haha. Quickly. Don't dawdle. The black and white eggs felt itchy, urging Xiaochen to fight against them. Xiaochen really wanted to test his current strength. What were his chances of defeating the black and white eggs, who were peak sovereign personages? Xiaochen's original plan was to successfully break through to great perfection sovereign personage and comprehend a Dao domain. Then he would fight the black and white eggs to test his strength. However, the plan could not keep up with the changes. He had already been here for 8 days. He had disappeared for 8 days, and the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor was still waiting for a reply. Xiaochen had to return quickly lest the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor worry. Sorry, next time. I have something urgent to look for now. After Xiaochen rejected the black and white eggs, he turned to leave. Whoosh. Just at this moment, a tall figure appeared in the blood moon. Death Qi surrounded this figure, showing no expression. Under the moonlight, this figure appeared lonely and desolate. It was the desolate slave Soul Reaper. The desolate slave Soul Reaper held many sovereign emperor corpses in its hand as it headed for the Blue Dragon ancient city alone. Seemingly noticing Xiaochen's gaze, the desolate slave Soul Reaper stopped under the blood moon and turned its head to look at Xiaochen. As their gazes met, Xiaochen saw that Soul Reaper's eyes were turbid, dim, and lifeless, filled with death qi. As a desolate slave, Soul Reaper was somewhat special compared to the other desolate slaves. It seemed like a strand of will remained. However, in the end, it was just a dead person. The desolate slave Soul Reaper turned its head away, no longer paying attention to Xiaochen. Then it slowly headed for the Blue Dragon ancient city, clad in a faint layer of scarlet moonlight. For some reason, Xiaochen felt sorrow in his heart as he looked at the desolate slave Soul Reaper. Many years ago, Soul Reaper might have been a peak expert of the Blue Dragon bloodline. He must have been very famous when he was alive. He should not be living like this. Xiaochen muttered to himself as he looked at Soul Reaper's back, remaining silent for a long time. After Soul Reaper vanished, entering the Blue Dragon ancient city, Xiaochen soared into the air and flew towards the Blood Moon. After returning to his residence in Desolate City, before Xiaochen could catch his breath, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's voice rang out in his ears. Quickly come and see me. After disappearing silently for 8 days, Xiaochen did not dare to tarry. After calming his emotions, he went to the pavilion from the previous time. Great perfection sovereign personage? You really succeeded. The resources I lent you were not wasted. When the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor saw Xiaochen, he felt slightly startled. Doubt flashed in his eyes. He discovered that aside from Xiao Chen's significant improvement in cultivation, there seemed to be some other changes. Xiao Chen noticed the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's doubts. Fortunately, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor did not pursue the matter, allowing him to release his bated breath. Lord Shengguan sent news. The court doyen who took a fancy to you is the foe god Swearenji, the most ambitious person in the Heavenly Alliance. Chapter 2106. An ambitious person? Xiao Chen thought to himself. Then he looked at the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor and asked, "So what is City Lord's suggestion?" "I do not recommend that you rely on court doyen Swearenji to enter the Heavenly Alliance. There are too many implications, and it will be hard for you to back out in the future." The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor was rather direct, calmly voicing his opinion. "In that case, I'll reject it." Xiao Chen also calmly made his decision, not hesitating at all. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor looked at Xiao Chen in shock. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen answered so quickly. "It looks like the fortuitous encounters in the past few days gave you a lot of confidence. In that case, I'll help you reject Lord Swearenji's invitation." After leaving the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's pavilion, Xiao Chen ran into Yunfei and Lei Hao, the two true disciples of Peach Blossom City, on his way back. The two had not passed the test. Yunfei, who originally had high hopes, had been eliminated at the very end. In the past few days, Yunfei should have been asking around about the loser's arena before deciding whether to participate or not. "Little brother Xiao Chen, where have you been the past few days?" Lei Hao asked warmly when he saw Xiao Chen. "I entered closed-door cultivation, and only came out today." Yunfei's expression suddenly changed in shock. After a while he said, "Congratulations." Lei Hao felt suspicious about why Yunfei was congratulating him. Then he checked Xiao Chen's aura. When he discovered that Xiao Chen was already a sovereign personage like them, he could not help feeling shocked in his heart. This Xiao Chen before him was only 47 years old, but he was already a great perfection sovereign personage. However, Lei Hao still performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Congratulations. No wonder little brother Xiao Chen disappeared for the past few days. The two of us are truly ashamed of ourselves for little brother Xiao Chen." "Many thanks. Have you decided to participate in the loser's arena?" Xiao Chen asked. Lei Hao and Yunfei sighed upon hearing that, appearing somewhat dispirited. Lei Hao said, "I've already given up. I already exchanged the foe god spirit jades for resources. Yunfei has decided to continue participating." Yunfei said sullenly, "The loser's challenge rules are a 10,000-person chaotic battle royale. 10,000 people will kill each other in a chaotic battle royale. Only one survivor will continue to participate in the 10,000-person chaotic battle royale. After the chaotic battles, the 10 spots for the Heavenly Alliance will be determined." When Xiao Chen heard this, he was startled. The difficulty was truly terrifying. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it was hellish. "What are the rules for the winner's group challenge?" Lei Hao asked, finding it strange. "Little brother Xiao Chen, didn't the core doyens already take a fancy to you? Why are you still concerned about this?" "I just talked to the city lord and he has already rejected it." "Ah." Lei Hao and Yunfei were both shocked. They had never imagined that Xiao Chen would agree to a core grand elder's request. This was simply inconceivable. It was something that others wouldn't even dare to dream of. Yet Xiao Chen had actually rejected it. Countless people would be heartbroken if they knew about this. They would have wasted such a great opportunity. "Little brother Xiao Chen, you have to consider this carefully. The rules for the winner's group challenge are 100 people fighting each other in a chaotic battle royale. Only one person can survive. Then, 100 people will obtain the qualifications to enter the Heavenly Alliance. The difficulty is no easier than the loser's group." Lei Hao advised sincerely, as the individual strength of the winner's group was much higher than that of the loser's group. While it looked like a 100-person chaotic battle royale, these 100 people were all peak sovereign personages who had survived the first stage of intense battles. Given Xiao Chen's strength, even if he advanced to great perfection sovereign personage, his chances of standing out would still be very slim. Yunfei interrupted. "Lei Hao, there is no need to advise him. Little brother Chen definitely can think of what we know. he definitely has his own determination to reject it. Furthermore, I don't think little brother Chen is someone who makes decisions easily. Xiao Chen thought to himself, I made this decision rather easily without much conflict or hesitation. The pros and cons would not make it too difficult for Xiao Chen to decide. Since Xiao Chen was an ambitious person, he definitely had something in mind, and would definitely make a request in the future. Clearly, Xiao Chen could not accept such a request. It was better to rely on oneself than on others. The best way was to rely on himself to enter the Heavenly Alliance. 2 days later, Xiao Chen's group appeared on the Starry Heavens Dao platform together with the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. When Xiao Chen appeared, he immediately attracted the attention of countless people. The sovereign emperors on the thrones in the Starry Heavens could not help casting their gazes on Xiao Chen. They had all heard that this youth had rejected the court doyen's request. After hearing this news, everyone had an expression of disbelief on their faces. They couldn't imagine it. What kind of person would make such a rash decision? Either that person was a fool or overly confident in himself. Quick look. To think that Xiao Chen does not show any expression at all. He looks very calm. This fellow is really hateful. He wasted a chance for nothing. If only it were me. Humph. To think that he rejected the court doyen's invitation. Could it be that he thinks that he can pass the test in the winners group? He really does not know how to conduct himself. That lord will probably be very angry when he finds out about this. Indeed. If it were me, I would be angry as well. A faux god lowered his status to invite you. Yet he rejected it. Discussions broke out everywhere. They could not understand Xiao Chen's decision. Out of respect for the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor, the many sovereign emperors did not discuss it. At this moment, the happiest person was naturally Sovereign Emperor Xingge. Ha ha ha. Little brother Peach Blossom, you are here. Whoosh. Sovereign Emperor Xingge actually descended from the starry heavens and arrived before Xiao Chen and the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. This enthusiasm came from the bottom of his heart and was not the slightest bit hypocritical. After learning that the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor had rejected Sovereign Emperor Shangguan's invitation, Sovereign Emperor Xingge felt very happy. After the shock, Sovereign Emperor Xingge rejoiced. This way, only his follower, Nangongfeng, would enter the Heavenly Alliance in the entire Desolate City test zone. This little brother Xiao Chen is truly worthy of this old man's admiration. You have courage. Youth should have the drive and sharpness of youths. This old man believes that if I were your age, I would definitely not be as decisive as you. Sovereign Emperor Xingge said with a smile as he shifted his gaze to Xiao Chen. Senior Xingge, you are too polite. Xiao Chen replied calmly. Ha ha ha. I am not being polite. This old man speaks from the bottom of my heart. Youths like you are becoming increasingly rare. You want to rely on your own strength to pass the test. Who would dare to underestimate such pride? I'll put my words out there. If you can enter the Heavenly Alliance, this old man will personally reward you with 30 million primeval heavenly pills. Sovereign Emperor Xingge laughed loudly, feeling very good. However, he smiled coldly in his heart. It would be strange if you can pass the test. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said with some mockery. Brother Xingge is really forthright. Since you admire my follower so much, why not reward him now? I can see that you are smiling very happily. Sovereign Emperor Xingge said somewhat embarrassedly. There is no point in giving it now. If little brother Xiao Chen loses his drive, I would be doing something bad out of good intentions, losing my motivational effect. Xiao Chen said sincerely, many thanks for Sovereign Emperor Xingge's favor. Actually, you can give me 30 million primeval heavenly pills first. After I pass, Sovereign Emperor Xingge can give me another 70 million primeval heavenly pills. That would be even more motivational. This junior will thank Sovereign Emperor Xingge in advance. Good. Lord Shangguan, who was on the throne in the starry heavens, smiled and said, It is rare for Xingge to put so much thought into this. It is settled then. If little friend Xiao Chen can rely on his own strength to enter the Heavenly Alliance and bring glory to my desolate city, I will personally reward Xiao Chen with another 20 million primeval heavenly pills. The other sovereign emperors immediately agreed. praising Sovereign Emperor Xingge and Lord Shangguan for their enthusiasm. Many people agreed, but no one was foolish enough to take out primeval heavenly pills to motivate Xiaochen. To sovereign emperors, primeval heavenly pills were nothing. However, 30 million was a heart-wrenching loss. Sovereign Emperor Xingge was immediately stupefied. He had made a huge profit this time, digging a hole for himself and burying himself in. Initially, Sovereign Emperor Xingge was just too excited and casually made some empty promises. Unexpectedly, Xiaochen made a fool out of him. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor smiled and said, "Brother Xingge, everyone is looking at you." "Ha! Little friend Xiaochen, you have to work hard. My primeval heavenly pills are not easy to obtain. Don't embarrass our desolate city." Before the gazes of the sovereign emperors, Sovereign Emperor Xingge gritted his teeth and took out a primeval heavenly pill. Then he tossed it heavily at Xiaochen's face. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's smile did not change. However, he felt like a fool in his heart, extremely upset. However, Xiaochen could not be bothered with all this, taking it calmly. Before the victor's group test started, Xiaochen had already obtained 30 million primeval heavenly pills for no reason. What could be happier than this? Chapter 2107. No matter how depressed Sovereign Emperor Xingge was, the Heavenly Alliance's test still had to continue. The purple-haired old man waved his hand to silence everyone. Then he said, "You probably already know the rules of the second stage of the Heavenly Alliance's test, so I will not repeat them." Nangong Feng. Here. Nangong Feng took a step forward, cupped his hands and said loudly, "Greetings, Lord Shangguan. The difficulty of this Heavenly Alliance's test is the highest in history. You should be the one with the highest chance of passing the test in my desolate city test zone. Don't disappoint me. Don't let my desolate city test area get wiped out. Everyone is watching you." The purple-haired old man said gravely to Nangong Feng, filled with hope. Nangong Feng felt immense pressure. He said in a deep voice, "I will definitely do my best to pass the second stage." The purple-haired old man looked around and turned his head. "Xiaochen." "Yes." Xiaochen took a step forward, bowed slightly and said softly, "Greetings, Lord Shangguan." As the purple-haired old man looked at Xiaochen, a complicated expression appeared on his face. He really could not understand this young man. This was a great opportunity that many people dreamed of, but he actually rejected it. However, that made sense. Xiaochen was the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's disciple. Back then, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor had retreated bravely. Do your best. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I have high hopes for you. Even if you cannot pass the Heavenly Alliance's test this time, as long as you are willing, I can represent the Heavenly Alliance and keep the doors open to you. The purple-haired old man's words were considered a very high evaluation. He was quite optimistic about Xiaochen. Xiaochen already had such accomplishments at such a young age. As long as he became a sovereign emperor, he would definitely become a faux god. "Thank you, Lord Shangguan." The purple-haired old man's gaze swept across the crowd and landed on those who were preparing to participate in the losers' arena. He said softly, "The losers' arena is not without hope. You all know how cruel the losers' arena is, yet you still dare to continue challenging. I admire you all. Begin." With the many sovereign emperors driving, the starry heavens Dao platform slowly spun. Xiaochen and Nangong Feng stood together. The other people from the losers' bracket stood to one side. "Can you tell us why you gave up on the Core Doyen's invitation?" Nangong Feng looked at Xiaochen curiously. Many people did not understand this question. Xiaochen entered deep thought. Then he answered honestly, "I do not want too many restrictions. I hope to rely on my own strength to enter the Heavenly Alliance." Surprise flashed in Nangong Feng's eyes. He could sense the truth in Xiaochen's words. These were Xiaochen's true thoughts. "Good luck." Such an answer caused Nangong Feng to think highly of the other party. Then he said his blessing softly. Whoosh! The formation was activated. First, the thousands of people in the losers' bracket disappeared from the Dao platform. Following that, Xiaochen and Nangong Feng disappeared. The losers group would have 10,000 people on the same stage and engage in a chaotic battle. Only one person would survive and continue on to the next round. Out of hundreds of thousands of people, they had to kill their way to 10 people before they could obtain the final quota. The victors group would have 100 people on the same platform. One person from each secret realm would survive and enter the Heavenly Alliance. Shwa. 100 light screens appeared in the starry heavens. The cultivators who passed the first stage appeared before everyone's eyes. The light screens for the losers bracket did not appear. In theory, they were all eliminated. Lord City Lord, Xiao Chen is on the light screen for Dao Platform 8. Old Chui immediately informed the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor when he discovered Xiao Chen. A continent floated in the starry heavens on the light screen for Dao Platform 8. To sovereign personages, a continent's size could be seen with one glance. There was nowhere to hide. And there was no way to hide. At this moment, all the sovereign emperors in Desolate City focused their gazes on the light screens for Xiao Chen and Nangong Feng. An intense battle would start soon. Those who could enter the second stage were all peak sovereign personages. There were no weaklings. This was because the first stage was already sufficiently cruel. The weak would not be able to pass it by luck. As Xiao Chen stood on a mound on the continent, he looked around. This continent was filled with the auras of experts. Everyone was accumulating power in the dark, waiting for the battle that was about to begin. 1 in 100 would be chosen, and the survivor would be king. Whoever survived to the end would obtain the right to enter the Heavenly Alliance. Xiao Chen looked around and discovered a familiar figure. Gong Liangyu. That was right. It was Xiao Chen's old rival, Gong Liangyu. He and Xiao Chen were actually placed together again in the second stage. Whoosh. At this moment, Gong Liangyu sensed Xiao Chen's presence. Their gazes met, and an invisible clash immediately ensued. Gong Liangyu's lips curled up slightly as he said softly, "Interesting." Xiao Chen felt slightly stunned, somewhat surprised. However, he quickly calmed down. The battle had not started yet. Everyone was restricted by the realm spirit. The most important thing was to remain calm. The many sovereign emperors in the starry heavens above Desolate City set this place abuzz. Gong Liangyu and Xiao Chen both appeared in Dao Platform 8. It's over. Xiao Chen's situation was not optimistic in the first place. Now he runs into Gong Liangyu. Truly, enemies often cross paths. Aside from Gong Liangyu, there are many experts in Secret Realm 8 as well. I took a quick look. Several of them ranked within the top 100 of the previous stage. If Xiao Chen had known, would he have regretted rejecting Lord Swearenji's invitation? Originally, the sovereign emperors did not think much of Xiao Chen. Who could have expected that Xiao Chen and Gong Liangyu would end up in the same group again in the second stage? Some people even guessed that someone did this on purpose. After all, this was too much of a coincidence. Putting Xiao Chen and Gong Liangyu together in the second stage was simply not giving them a chance to survive. City Lord, aside from Gong Liangyu, there is another person called Lin Shi in Secret Realm 8. He also ranked within the top 20 of the first stage. There are 4 or 5 people in the top 100, all of whom are not to be trifled with. Old Chui said softly from beside the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. Old Chui, who was beside the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor, reported softly. Xiao Chen's situation was not optimistic. They are not easy to offend. How can Xiao Chen be easy to offend? It will not be easy for anyone to trample on Xiao Chen. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said indifferently. Although the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor did not think that Xiao Chen could become the final victor. He was very confident in Xiao Chen's strength. However, he was very confident in Xiao Chen's strength. Even if he failed, he would have to pay a sufficient price to obtain victory from his hands. Old Chui remained silent at the side. He did not know where the city lord got his confidence from. Was it because Xiao Chen broke through to great perfection sovereign personage? However, most of the people who passed the second stage were peak sovereign personages. Furthermore, they had remained at this peak for more than 100 years. Compared to the other participants, Xiao Chen's breakthrough was not considered a significant improvement. Whoosh! The familiar little light figure appeared on the continent. It looked at the crowd and said, "Congratulations to everyone for successfully entering the final stage of the Heavenly Alliance's test. In this stage, the survivor is king. Whoever survives to the end will qualify to enter the Heavenly Alliance. Whether you are willing or not, the continent under your feet will continuously shrink. In the end, it will only be able to withstand one person. Those who lose their footing will be eliminated. Now, I announce the official start of the second stage. Right after the realm spirit spoke, Xiaochen felt the restrictions on his body vanish, allowing him to move freely. A chaotic battle instantly started. Without any hesitation, everyone found the nearby participants and mercilessly attacked. Kill. The most dazzling of the 100 participants, Gong Liangyu, unleashed his Dao domain and brandished his palms, sending palm strike after palm strike. Gong Liangyu continuously sent out heavy palm winds that were dense and dense. Furthermore, the palm winds contained even sharper sword lights. If one got careless and got struck by the sword chi, one would immediately suffer severe injuries. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying Gong Liangyu killed 2 genius participants. At this moment, the strength that Gong Liangyu displayed was even more horrifying than in the first stage. This made sense. After clearing this stage, no matter what, they could enter the Heavenly Alliance. There was no need to hide any strength at all. They just had to ensure their advancement. Aside from Gong Liangyu, Lin Shi and the others, who ranked in the top 10, fought with all their might, not holding back at all. Amid the chaotic battle, Xiaochen showed a stern expression as he held the tyrant saber. His aura appeared very young among the 300 or 400-year-old sovereign personages. However, the killing intent and might contained in his aura were not vague at all. Xiaochen held absolute confidence in his heart, not showing any fear at all. He calmly analyzed. At the end of this stage, it will definitely be a fight between kings. The weak will be eliminated first. Right now, those peak experts are all releasing their auras to prove that they are qualified to participate in the end. There is no need for me to hide too much. I will end the battle quickly and prove my strength. Suddenly, a candle dragon image appeared behind Xiaochen. A candle flame flashed in Xiaochen's eyes. Immediately, the 2 peak sovereign personages charging at him burned with a terrifying ice flame. Terrifying ice flames burst out, burning his soul and body at the same time. Kill. Xiaochen's gaze was cold and emotionless. He drew the tyrant saber and instantly sent out a strong saber intent. When he attacked, he executed the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber techniques, resolving the mundane. A swastika appeared on Xiaochen's forehead. Then his face turned cold, losing all the expression that a person of the mundane should have. Since the mundane is resolved, it is eternal. An eternal and inextinguishable saber light flew out from Xiaochen's chop. The ferocious and cold Buddhist might continuously clashed with the auras of the 2 peak sovereign personages. Damn it! What kind of flame is this? My speed has decreased significantly, and my soul is still burning. Quickly make a move. This saber light is not easy to deal with. After Xiaochen used the candle dragon eye to burn the physical bodies and souls of the 2 peak sovereign personages, they had to face Xiaochen's resolving the mundane. The 2 peak sovereign personages immediately panicked and flustered. Dang! 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 After resolving the mundane, Xiaochen executed his flawless saber Dao continuously. Using his body as a saber, his thoughts as a saber, and his heart as a saber, Xiaochen erupted with his full power, not holding anything back. After 10 moves, he killed the 2 peak sovereign personages on the spot. Kasi, blood splattered everywhere, accompanied by disbelieving heads, appeared on the light screen. The group of sovereign emperors in the desolate city's sovereign emperor benches, including the purple-haired old man, were stunned. Xiaochen easily killed 2 peak sovereign personages by himself. Chapter 2108. The chaotic battle started. This was the first time Xiaochen used his full power since his tribulation. Xiaochen already brought out his strongest strength. Within 10 moves he killed 2 peak sovereign personages. Good. The purple-haired old man could not help praising loudly, his eyes lighting up. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu immediately felt somewhat weak. He smiled coldly in his heart. This is just the beginning. The best part is yet to come. This fellow is only this bit of strength. It is far from enough to clear this stage. Flawless saber technique, flying heaven stance. A figure soared into the air, and a moon descended. A bright moon descended from the sky. The participant fighting with Xiao Chun was stunned. Then he moved back in a fluster and sent out a resplendent sword light, trying to shatter this bright moon. Boom. However, when the bright moon shattered, a loud sound rang out. The participant vomited a mouthful of blood as the energy shock wave knocked him back. How can this saber intent be so strong? Horror flashed in this cultivator's eyes. Xiao Chun clearly did not comprehend the saber Dao domain, but his saber intent was somewhat ridiculously strong. Die. Heartbreaking stance. Xiao Chun shouted as his heart shattered. Intense pain spread throughout his body. Then he turned into a flash of lightning and charged forward. Amid this boundless pain, Xiao Chun erupted with his full power. He turned into a flash of lightning and charged forward. It was too fast, too fast. Xiao Chun could not tell if it was a saber light or lightning light. By the time he startled to his senses, the saber in Xiao Chun's hand had already stabbed into the other party's forehead. Pussy. The saber pierced through the other party's head. The horrifying impact immediately caused the participant's body to explode. Even the realm spirit could not save him, and he died on the spot. No wonder Xiao Chun was so ruthless. In this final stage, no one would hide their strength. For the sake of a Heavenly Alliance spot, everyone would do their best, not holding anything back. If one showed mercy, one might be the one to die. Rumble. The continent started to crumble and shatter. Its surface area continued to shrink, forcing the remaining participants to fly to the center. The cruel killing had just begun. An even more intense clash was yet to come. The continent below was everyone's living space. The realm spirit had said that this continent would continuously shrink, until only one person could survive. It was foreseeable that as the living space continued to shrink, the slaughter would become more and more intense. So powerful. Many people who noticed Xiao Chun felt their hearts skip a beat, and their expressions changed greatly. Then, Xiao Chun killed 2 peak sovereign personages in 10 moves and forcefully killed a participant, leaving the other party unable to retaliate. Those who could clear the first stage were all outstanding talents, sovereign personage elites. Every one of them was a peak existence among sovereign personages. They were not people that anyone could casually trample on. Was Yin Fei strong when he used the 13 wind-riding swords? However, even a strong sovereign personage like Yin Fei could not clear the first stage. One could easily imagine how horrifying the strength of a sovereign personage who cleared the first stage was. The more it was so, the more it proved how powerful Xiao Chun was now. Great perfection sovereign personage. He was not just a great perfection sovereign personage. He relied on his physical body to endure the heaven-shaking lightning tribulation until the end. Who could understand that kind of pain and bitterness? What do you want? What he wanted was to start a massacre now and rely on his own strength to advance into the Heavenly Alliance. I'll prove it to whoever says I can't. Whoosh. Figures flickered in the air. Xiao Chun's performance already inspired fear in the other participants. They needed to work together to deal with him. As the 10-odd candidates spoke, they soared into the air and surrounded Xiao Chun. One should not complain about being too eye-catching. The powerhouses of the Heavenly Alliance's upper echelon wanted true elites, powerful sovereign personages that were 1 in a million. Not only could one suppress one's opponent in a one-on-one battle, but one also needed sufficient strength and means to deal with such encirclement. In the future, after one became a Heavenly Alliance member, the dangers one would face would only be more difficult than now. Just look at the top 100. Gong Liangyu, Lin Shi, which of them was not? They faced the attacks of 10-odd participants. If one was a genius, one should not fear the jealousy of others or the encirclement of others. If one could endure it, one would qualify for the final test of this stage. If one could not, it would only mean that one was a fake genius, not someone the Heavenly Alliance needed. As Xiao Chun watched the 10-odd participants charge over, his expression did not change. He remained extremely calm. As long as he did not get surrounded and fall into an absolute disadvantage, he could fight. The purple thunder divine incantation circulated wildly in his body. With every step Xiao Chun took, the winds and clouds changed. Boundless electric light burst out of his body. Surround him. Seeing Xiao Chun move so fast, The others were startled and wanted to kill Xiaochen. The most direct method was to surround him and merge their auras to suppress Xiaochen at the same time. At that time, no matter who it was, they would not be able to breathe or move under the suppression of 10-odd peak sovereign personages' auras. Even Gong Liangyu would not be able to do anything. He would have to die. As Xiaochen ran, he gently pushed the ground with his feet, and the ground cracked. A strong wind blew, and lightning flashed everywhere, kicking up sand into the air. 5-element divine lightning, Thunder Monarch Spear. Xiaochen used his Thunder Dao domain to drive the 5-element divine lightning, forming a short spear shooting out boundless electric light in his hand. Whoosh! Xiaochen ferociously tossed out the short spear. In that instant, the resplendent electric light was dazzling, so piercing that others could not open their eyes. The short spear was so fast that the people chasing Xiaochen could not dodge in time. Someone immediately cried out miserably. The short spear struck him, and his body exploded, turning him into a mangled mess. The strong impact of the short spear pierced through that person's chest, sending him flying. Whoosh! 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 As Xiaochen ran and leaped, he occasionally turned his head back. Then the short spears driven by his Thunder Dao domain, and the 5-element divine lightning flew out. Why did Xiaochen modify the Thunder Monarch Spear into a short spear? At this moment, its advantages became apparent. Although the spears were weaker, they could be formed faster and expended less energy. They could be formed continuously. As long as there were enough of them, the destructive power would be even greater. The many short spears became nightmarish existences to the participants chasing Xiaochen. Their originally soaring auras fell to rock bottom as miserable cries rang out. Something's wrong. Quickly scatter. Slowly, the pursuers realized that something was wrong. Xiaochen was not fleeing out of fear of them. Instead, he was trying to kill them all. However, it was already too late. The instant these people realized that something was wrong, Xiaochen suddenly turned around. Firmament's rage. The great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon's roar spread out in the world. A colossal hand containing saber light and lightning descended from the sky. Pa! After comprehending the Thunder Dao domain, be it Firmament's rage or the Thunder Monarch Spear, their might had more than doubled. This colossal hand containing the rage of a great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon descended ferociously. None of the people chasing Xiaochen managed to escape. Xiaochen remained expressionless as he grabbed with his 5 fingers. His palm immediately generated a huge suction. It grabbed all the examinees who were injured by the gigantic palm into its palm. Lightning and boundless saber light spread out in his palm. It was like a small world of hell. Xiaochen ferociously clenched his fist. When he opened it again, boundless lightning and saber light spread out in all directions. A strong wind blew as blood rained down from the sky. Xiaochen killed all the pursuers, not leaving a single one alive. Many of Xiaochen's martial techniques were related to the Thunder Dao, allowing him to comprehend the Thunder Dao domain. Xiaochen's increase in strength was not as simple as what the outside world understood. Advancing from small perfection sovereign personage to great perfection sovereign personage was a qualitative change. Looking around, there were less than 30% of the candidates left. However, the continuously collapsing continent left no space for everyone. The living space under them could not accommodate 30-odd people at all. Someone had to be eliminated or die before they could have a place to stand. Cruel. This was a truly miserable slaughter, far more terrifying than the first stage. The continuously shrinking living space forced everyone to kill each other. Coincidentally, the candidates who had existed for a longer time were definitely stronger existences. The slaughter would only become more intense. Everyone would have to bring out their full potential. At this point, no one could think about anything else. Whether it was the intense killing intent in the air or the shrinking living space, everyone had no choice but to continue fighting. Right now, this was not just a test of strength, but also a test of mental state. This was equally cruel. Many of the participants paled somewhat. Sweat covered their foreheads as they panted heavily. The participants could not adapt to this miserable situation. Their hands, which held their sabers, trembled. Kill. The chaotic battle intensified. Xiao Chen showed a cold expression as he held up his tyrant saber. He did not show any fear in such a miserable situation. The advantage of his mental state allowed him to face all this calmly. His aura was not affected at all. On the contrary, some experts with weak mental states could bring out only 80 to 90% of their strength. The sovereign emperors sitting on their thrones in desolate cities' starry heavens could not say anything. Everyone stared at the light screen. This Xiao Chen had truly given them a pleasant surprise that they had not expected. Such a state of mind, such strength, it really allowed people to see what a true peerless monster was. No wonder Xiao Chen dared to reject Lord Swearenji's request. He really wanted to rely on his own strength to charge into the Heavenly Alliance step by step. Xiao Chen wanted to use his strength to silence all those who did not submit. Chapter 2109. At this point in the intense killing, what was more important was the test of one's mental state. One's mental state had always been important. However, it was not as obvious as one's cultivation, so one normally did not pay much attention to it. However, the Heavenly Alliance powerhouses were all peak experts with outstanding mental states. Naturally, they understood the importance of mental states. This stage was so intense, shrinking everyone's living space step by step. The participants were all participants with outstanding mental states. Compared to the truly intense scene, this was nothing. If one could not even endure the intense scene before them, they would end up like this if they ran into an even greater scene in the future. In reality, the remaining 30-odd people were about the same in terms of cultivation. Their combat prowess was already very close. Everyone had their own trump cards. They might have comprehended a Dao domain, grasped a peak secret technique, or used a different killing move. Everyone had a chance of defeating the other party. However, there was a problem with their mental states, preventing them from bringing out their strength. The result that awaited them was either a miserable death, or being saved by a world spirit, and sparing their lives. At this point in the Heavenly Alliance's test, luck no longer mattered. Mental states directly determined life and death. Boom. The land under Xiao Chen's feet shrank further, and the living space shrank further. The killing turned even more intense. The stench of blood lingered in the air. Many people felt fatigued. The pressure in their hearts magnified infinitely, preventing them from stabilizing their emotions. Xiao Chen's heart was as clear as a mirror. His eyes were like limpid autumn water, calm and unperturbed. Amid the intense killing, Xiao Chen's heart remained unmoved. His clear eyes always showed a trace of stubbornness and calmness. Whoosh! A figure entered Xiao Chen's vision. Without thinking, he materialized the heartbreaking stance with his tyrant saber. Dang! The saber and sword clashed, erupting with huge force. However, neither moved back. This was because the land under Xiao Chen's feet had shrunk to an extremely small size. No one knew if the land under Xiao Chen's feet would crumble the moment he moved back. Dang! 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 In an instant, Xiao Chen exchanged more than 100 moves with the newcomer, not moving back at all. Their auras materialized thousands of mysterious phenomena as they clashed wildly, each trying to push the other back. However, after another 100 moves, the two still did not move back at all, evenly matched. The rhythm of the battle accelerated. For the first time, Xiao Chen felt that this was somewhat problematic. The other party should be within the top 100 of the first stage. The two of them fought endlessly, each using the sword Dao and saber Dao techniques they had mastered to the limit. They were evenly matched. Neither of them had any obvious weaknesses. The other party had the Wind Dao domain, but Xiao Chen also had the Earth Dao domain. The other party's cultivation was much higher than Xiao Chen's. However, Xiao Chen's saber Dao was slightly superior. It's Lin Shi. Many sovereign emperors in desolate cities' starry heavens recognized Xiao Chen's opponent. Zhang Xian gasped in shock. This was an existence whose strength was only inferior to Gong Liangyu in the 8th dueling ring. It was not Lin. Xiao Chen's but Lin. Gong. The Lin. The one was. Xiaolin. Was. Lin's. Damn it. Why is the random person I chose so terrifyingly strong? Even if I defeat the other party, How am I supposed to fight Gong Liangyu? Am I doomed to not be able to enter the Heavenly Alliance? Frustration appeared in Lin Shi's heart. When he thought of a certain outcome, he could not help feeling frustrated. Indeed, even if he defeated Xiao Chun, it would be a Pyrrhic victory. He would have to pay a huge price. Indeed, even if he defeated Xiao Chun, it would be a Pyrrhic victory. He would have to pay a huge price. An opening. Xiao Chun's heart skipped a beat. He sensed some fluctuations in his opponent's mental state, revealing an opening. In that instant, thousands of thoughts flashed in Xiao Chun's mind. Is there really an opening, or is this a trap? Should I fight it out? Fight it out. Without any hesitation, Xiao Chun decided to execute a killing move the instant the other party's mental state fluctuated. Dermic World. Xiao Chun's figure trembled slightly, and he immediately turned into a 3-kilometer-tall giant. The tyrant saber in his hand became 100 times larger. Without even thinking, Xiao Chun used his 3-kilometer-tall body to execute the flawless saber Dao. Void-breaking stance. When Lin Shi saw Xiao Chun execute Dermic World, his expression changed. He immediately felt his aura crumbling at a startling pace. The thousands of mysterious phenomena materialized by his Wind Dao domain all shattered. After executing Dermic World, Xiao Chun's pressure suddenly increased explosively. Originally, there was only an unremarkable opening. After Xiao Chun caught hold of it, it immediately expanded to a point where there was no way to recover. Lin Shi did not have time to think. He could only passively execute his killing move, clashing with the void-breaking stance that Xiao Chun executed with his body. Kasie. Lin Shi vomited a mouthful of blood. After exchanging 1,000 moves, Xiao Chun finally knocked him into the air. Whoosh! In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chun's physical body returned to its original form. However, the tyrant saber in his hand stabbed into Lin Shi's chest at the same time. Huangdang. The sword in Lin Shi's hand fell to the ground. He paled, feeling his life force quickly vanishing. Many thanks. Xiao Chun pulled out the tyrant saber, and blood spurted out of his chest. Xiao Chun's saber intent destroyed Lin Shi's internal organs at a terrifying speed. However, Xiao Chun already held back, not immediately finishing off the other party. The realm spirit would send him out before Lin Shi died. Originally, it looked like a draw. However, the victor was decided in the blink of an eye. This was mental state. In a battle of life and death, Xiao Chun was still letting his thoughts run wild. He thought that it was nothing, only thinking about how to deal with Gong Liangyu. Even Xiao Chun himself did not realize that he had already exposed an opening. This was how it was when one's mental state was insufficient. While one thought that it was nothing, in reality, it gave the other party an opportunity. Victory ended in one breath, so fast that Lin Shi did not have any room to salvage the situation. Normally speaking, even if Xiao Chun executed Dermic World, as long as he did not expose an opening, Dermic World would not be able to destroy Xiao Chun's aura. Instead, because Xiao Chun executed his killing move rashly and did not achieve the desired effect, he would expose an opening, allowing Xiao Chun to take advantage of it. However, there were no ifs in this world. In this battle of life and death, Lin Shi was thinking about how to deal with Gong Liangyu after defeating Xiao Chun. He had given Xiao Chun a chance for nothing. Otherwise, even if Xiao Chun could win, it would have been an extremely difficult victory. Many thanks. Should I thank you as well? Lin Shi's body slowly immaterialized. He revealed a bitter, self-mocking smile. He had truly learned something in this battle. Even though he no longer had the right to join the Heavenly Alliance, he would definitely not make the same mistake again in the future. If he kept an eye out, he might be able to save his life in the future. After all, this was just the Heavenly Alliance's test. Xiao Chun was not Lin Shi's enemy and did not kill him. After saying that, the realm spirit sent Lin Shi out. He did not dare to show any dissatisfaction, as he had already lost the right to join the Heavenly Alliance. Xiao Chun turned around and saw that Gong Liangyu had not finished off his opponent yet. Still in a bitter battle. Gong Liangyu's opponent was not weak at all. Gong Liangyu's opponent was not much easier than Lin Shi's fight with Xiao Chun. If Lin Shi saw this scene, he would probably feel so much regret that his intestines would turn green. In reality, Xiao Chun could imagine it. At this point, only 4 people remained. How could there be any weaklings? Everyone was about the same level. The only difference was their mental states. However, when Xiaochen fought Lin Shi, he did not have such thoughts at all. All Gong Liangyu thought about was how to defeat Lin Shi, how to not reveal any openings, and how to grasp the openings his opponent gave him. He finally grasped the opportunity. Whoosh! Gong Liangyu and his opponent, who were in a bitter battle, turned their heads at the same time, and their gazes landed on Xiaochen. Surprise flashed in the two's eyes. Clearly, they had not expected Xiaochen to win. Furthermore, Xiaochen won so easily, not paying much of a price at all. It looks like they are preparing to attack me at the same time. In just an instant, Xiaochen thought of what would happen next. These two were currently fighting. They definitely did not want Xiaochen to watch. Anyone would feel on edge. Xiaochen thought to himself, this is a little different from what I imagined. However, this might be an opportunity. When the two worked together, it looked like Xiaochen had no chance of victory, with only a slim chance of survival. However, heaven never bars one's way. What looked like a dead end happened to be an absolute opportunity. Gong Liangyu and his opponent stopped at the same time. The two did not communicate at all, but tacitly locked their auras on Xiaochen. What are you trying to do? Xiaochen's expression immediately changed drastically. An indiscernible fluster flashed in his eyes as he slowly retreated. Seeing the fluster in Xiaochen's eyes, Gong Liangyu revealed a cold smile. He said seriously, "You are really surprising. Unexpectedly, you comprehended a Dao domain in just a few days. However, many times aside from strength, luck is very important as well. It looks like luck is on my side this time. Go in peace." Whoosh! A moment ago, Gong Liangyu and his opponent were fighting to the death. Suddenly, they worked together to attack Xiaochen. Such a scene stupefied the sovereign emperors in desolate cities' starry heavens, who had revealed expressions of joy. The sudden change in the situation left them at a complete loss. Chapter 21:10. Kill. Gong Liangyu and his opponent attacked at the same time, charging at Xiaochen. Immediately, an overwhelming might surged over, looking like it would force Xiaochen out. Either one of them was about the same strength as Xiaochen. If the two worked together, Xiaochen had no chance of victory. Furthermore, the continent had already shrunk significantly. As long as they could force Xiaochen out, he would be eliminated. The result seemed to be predictable. However, was luck really on Gong Liangyu's side? The moment Xiaochen grasped Lin Shi's opening and defeated him, he had expected that Gong Liangyu and his opponent would attack him at the same time. Since they had expected it, why did there still appear an indiscernible fluster in their eyes? Naturally, Xiaochen had purposely shown an opening. When Gong Liangyu and his opponent arrived before Xiaochen, they saw that Xiaochen had already retreated to the edge of the continent. Gong Liangyu and his opponent could not help showing joy in their eyes. If they took another step, Xiaochen would be forced out and eliminated. Suddenly, the two's expressions changed at the same time, and they looked up. They saw 20-odd tribulation clouds drifting over from all directions in the sky, instantly descending as the two charged at Xiaochen. Boom! The 20-odd tribulation lightning bolts merged into one and descended. It was like the two had expected the two to charge over. To outsiders, it was not the tribulation lightning that struck the two. Instead, when the two charged at Xiaochen, they took the initiative to crash into the descending tribulation lightning. With the two working together, Xiaochen would die for sure. There would be no chance of victory. However, if the two had expected this and laid out a trap, the desperate situation would have become an opportunity for Xiaochen. The fifth layer of the divine lightning eye was the trap that Xiaochen laid out. The fluster in his eyes was also a disguise to attract the two's attention. The instant the two were struck by the tribulation lightning, Xiaochen gently waved his hand, and the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram filled the sky, descending along with the tribulation lightning. Taiji Yin-Yang burst. Having just endured the tribulation lightning, Gong Liangyu and his opponent did not even have the time to catch their breath before Xiaochen's Yin-Yang flame diagram self-detonated. Amidst the endless dust, the two of them coughed incessantly, suffering heavy injuries on the spot. Primordial Divine Eye bloodline activated. Since the opportunity was right before his eyes, Xiaochen naturally wouldn't miss it. He activated his bloodline and entered his peak state. One side was heavily injured, while the other side was at the peak. At this moment, it went without saying that sleep had the upper hand. Myriad changes in the blink of an eye. This was the true meaning of myriad changes in the blink of an eye. It caused everyone to be flabbergasted, and they were completely unable to react to it. Xiao Chen's eyes flickered with a golden light as he formed the 7-kill seal with his left hand. Under the 7-fold killing qi, he executed the mortal heart. Xiao. With a flash of light, Xiao Chen flew into the dust and waited for it to disperse. Gong Liangyu's opponent's head had already been separated from his body, and his body was slowly being teleported away by the world spirit. While the two were heavily injured, Xiao Chen decisively chose the more heavily injured one. Using the 7-kill seal and resolving the mundane, he killed him. Gong Liangyu was the only opponent left. Silence. The many sovereign emperors in desolate cities' starry heavens held their breaths, not saying anything. The exciting scene on the light screen for Secret Realm 8 made them fear missing out on a single detail. No one expected that aside from his stubbornness, Xiao Chen also had such a strategy. At the crucial moment, he used an exquisite disguise to grasp his opponent's state of mind, turning a desperate situation into an opportunity for him to turn the situation around. Talent. This was a true talent. He was brave and astute, possessed an outstanding mental state, and possessed outstanding talent. As Gong Liangyu looked at Xiao Chen, his complexion paled. First, he was caught off guard by the wave of tribulation lightning. Then he suffered the self-detonation of the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. Although Gong Liangyu's situation was better than his opponent's, he knew that he was no match for Xiao Chen in his current state. Gong Liangyu revealed a self-mocking smile as he said, "How laughable. This is truly laughable. I thought that you were able to last until the end of the first stage, because of luck. However, when luck was on my side, I was still the one who lost." Gong Liangyu's intelligence was extremely terrifying. Xiao Chen could tell from the first stage that even if this person obtained an absolute advantage, he would not show any pride. He didn't have the slightest bit of arrogance. He was cold and indifferent to the extreme, and he was always cautious. However, this time, Xiao Chen's strength improved too quickly. After Gong Liangyu easily killed Lin Shi, an opening appeared in Gong Liangyu's mental state. When Gong Liangyu noticed the fluster in Xiao Chen's eyes, he wanted to make use of this opportunity to easily avoid Xiao Chen. In reality, the moment Xiao Chen defeated Lin Shi, Gong Liangyu lost some confidence. Even Lin Shi lost to Xiao Chen. Could Gong Liangyu still defeat Xiao Chen? In the end, Gong Liangyu's mental state was still insufficient, unable to maintain a calm state of mind. That was why Gong Liangyu fell into Xiao Chen's trap, giving Xiao Chen a chance. In reality, unless there were extremely few people, the battle royale of the second stage had reached the last few people. Everyone's strength was about the same. It was impossible for it to be like the first stage. Xiao Chen could easily suppress countless sovereign personages in 2 or 3 moves. Those who could reach this stage were not weaklings. They all had a chance of winning. It all depended on whether one could grasp the opportunity or not. Of course, the prerequisite for all this was one's own strength as a foundation. If Xiao Chen had not advanced to great perfection sovereign personage, and comprehended the Thunder Dao domain, increasing the might of his secret techniques and martial techniques related to the Thunder Dao, no matter how high his mental state was, it would not be sufficient before Gong Liangyu's absolute strength. Xiao Chen calmly looked at the other party. A hazy painting of 10,000 dragons soaring appeared behind him. An ancient blue dragon's divine might spread out from Xiao Chen's body. Together with his aura, Xiao Chen's white robes fluttered loudly. As his long hair fluttered, a tyrannical air spread out. After activating his bloodline, Xiao Chen gave off a completely different air. His normally hidden sharpness and tyranny were completely revealed. Based on the other party's expression, Xiao Chen roughly knew what the other party wanted to say. "I admit defeat." After Gong Liangyu said that calmly, his figure quickly faded. Now only Xiao Chen remained in Arena 8. Did I win? In the starry heavens above Desolate City, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor felt like he was dreaming. not daring to believe the result before him. Old Chui exclaimed joyfully, City Lord, he really won. Xiao Chen already obtained a spot to enter the Heavenly Alliance. Ha ha ha. The purple-haired old man guffawed, his laughter filled with boldness and joy. Congratulations, Lord Shangguan. The other sovereign emperors showed joy on their faces as they congratulated Shangguan Yun. Only Sovereign Emperor Xingge showed an unsightly expression, feeling bitter. Sovereign Emperor Xingge seemed to have said that if Xiao Chen really entered the Heavenly Alliance, he would give Xiao Chen 70 million primeval heavenly pills as a reward. With this thought, Sovereign Emperor Xingge could not help feeling heartache. To sovereign emperors, primeval heavenly pills were not important. However, if there were so many, they would feel heartache. My lord, Nangong Feng also won. Just at this moment, Sovereign Emperor Xingji's follower reported joyfully as he pointed at the light screen for Arena 9. Only Nangong Feng remained in the light screen for Arena 9. The remaining 2 people from Desolate City had already passed the second stage. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu immediately rejoiced, dispelling some of his depression. However, he still felt a knot in his heart. If only Nangong Feng had entered the Heavenly Alliance, he would have been the center of attention. However, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor snatched away all the limelight. This was very depressing. The disciples entering the Heavenly Alliance were not as happy as one imagined. Whoosh! A light flickered, and Xiao Chen and Nangong Feng appeared at the same time. The two exchanged looks and nodded slightly. Then, they arrived before the purple-haired old man, and performed cupped fist salutes. Greetings, City Lord. The smile on Shangguan Yun's face did not fade. He said seriously, Good, very good. The 2 of you fought for me. This is my reward for you. 2 storage rings flew over, each containing 20 million primeval heavenly pills. Shangguan Yun casually rewarded 40 million primeval heavenly pills. Faux gods were truly faux gods, not even blinking. Congratulations. This old man's words carry enormous weight. Since you passed the test and entered the Heavenly Alliance, this is my reward for you. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu walked forward with a dark expression. The group of sovereign emperors suppressed their smiles as they looked at the unsightly Sovereign Emperor Xinggu. Then they handed the 70 million primeval heavenly pills to Xiao Chen. Master, you are really biased. Even my disciple did not receive so many rewards, Nangong Feng said with a bitter smile, appearing somewhat helpless. Nangong Feng said helplessly with a bitter smile. Immediately, many sovereign emperors could not help guffawing. This was the result of boasting. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu felt embarrassed. He said, We'll talk after we go back. Master will definitely not mistreat you. Shangguan Yun smiled faintly and said, Alright, that's all then. Xinggu, withdraw first. I have something to say to the 2 of them. Alright. The purple-haired old man looked at Xiao Chen and Nangong Feng and said, 3 days from now, someone will receive you and bring you to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. At that time, you will officially become members of the Heavenly Alliance. Although our Heavenly Alliance's accumulations cannot compare to those of the other super factions, we have plenty of resources. Once you become a formal member of the Heavenly Alliance, the authority and resources you will obtain will surpass your imagination. However, authority and obligation are equal. The more authority you have, the more obligation you have. I hope you understand. After the purple-haired old man finished speaking, Xiao Chen and Nangong Feng said at the same time, We will definitely remember Lord Shangguan's teachings. Alright, you may withdraw first. Chapter 2111. The battles in the losers' arena continued. Lei Hao was already eliminated, but Yun Fei was still fighting in the endless arenas. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor was still around. After Xiao Chen took his leave from Shangguan Yunfei, he did not rush to leave. Instead, he waited with Lei Hao for Yun Fei's results. Congratulations, little brother Xiao Chen. Lei Hao looked at Xiao Chen with some envy. Xiao Chen had joined the Heavenly Alliance and become a member of one of the 8 super factions. Xiao Chen's future cultivation path would be much easier. He would leave the other cultivators who did not join a super faction in the dust. Thinking of this, Lei Hao felt somewhat sad. who did not want to go further on the path of cultivation. Thank you, big brother Lei Hao. Xiaochen could see the disappointment in Lei Hao's eyes, so he consoled him softly. More than 1 million sovereign personages participated in the test. In the end, only 100 people from the winner's arena and 10 from the loser's arena could enter the Heavenly Alliance. 99% of the people were already eliminated. It could not be said that Lei Hao was weak. It could only be said that the test was too cruel. Lei Hao looked at Xiaochen and smiled. Little brother, don't worry about me. After this failure, I only hope to break through to Sovereign Emperor in the future. Perhaps without a high goal, it will not be so tiring. The two chatted softly, casually chatting about some things, explaining their experiences in the loser's arena and the winner's arena. 4 heaven-defying experts appeared in this Heavenly Alliance's test. Little brother Xiaochen, you have to pay attention to them in the later ranking battles, Lei Hao said to Xiaochen. Lei Hao asked Xiaochen. Compared to Xiaochen, Lei Hao had a better understanding of the entire Heavenly Alliance's test. Heaven-defying experts? What was a heaven-defying sovereign personage? They were heaven-defying sovereign personages who could suppress the other geniuses in the first stage and the second stage of the winner's arena. Xiaochen and Gong Liangyu could not be considered heaven-defying. When it came to the last 30 people, everyone's strength differed greatly. The only thing that mattered was one's state of mind. Whoever's state of mind was better would have a greater chance of advancing. As for heaven-defying sovereign personages, they were clearly much stronger than the others. Mental states could no longer affect the situation. The difference in strength was too great. Even if the other party were to casually exchange blows with you, you would still be no match for him. Such a participant could be considered unrivaled among sovereign personages, a heaven-defying existence. Xiaochen thought to himself, it is not surprising that such a heaven-defying sovereign personage appeared. After all, the examiner's requirement was to be a sovereign personage under 500 years old. They gave Xiaochen 300 years. He was confident that he could crush Gong Liangyu and Lin Shi without any pressure. However, Xiaochen was a little surprised that 4 of them had appeared at the same time. Which 5? Lei Hao said sullenly. Saber Demon Wu Meng, a participant from the Tianwu dynasty's test zone, is simply a strange talent. I was eliminated by him. It was just 1 slash. I didn't even see it clearly before I was eliminated. Thinking back to that guy's eyes, I still feel a little scared. With just 1 look, I knew I was going to lose. Saber Demon Wu Meng? He's a demonic Dao warrior? Lei Hao quickly denied it. How can that be possible? The demonic Dao Hall and the underworld God Hall are our mortal enemies. It is impossible for the Heavenly Alliance to recruit demonic Dao cultivators. I call him the Saber Demon because of his style. His saber technique is as terrifying as a demon's. Xiaochen's heart skipped a beat. It looked like he had to be even more careful in the future. He could not expose the fact that he cultivated the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art. The other 4 are Grim Reaper Lin Feng, Sword Venerate Gong Zilan, and Spear Sovereign Mou. Of them, the scariest is Grim Reaper Lin Feng. Many people say that he might be the strongest participant in this Heavenly Alliance test. At that time he will receive many benefits. Xiaochen thought to himself, memorizing all these names. Then he asked Lei Hao for the portraits of these people. After arriving at the Heavenly Alliance, there was still a ranking battle for those who entered the Heavenly Alliance. The ranking determined the final reward, as well as whether one could attract true experts from the Heavenly Alliance. After Lei Hao gave Xiaochen all this, he smiled and said, aside from these 5, little brother Xiaochen, your fame in this Heavenly Alliance test is no less than theirs. In fact, you might even surpass them. What do you mean? Previously, someone said that if you can enter the Heavenly Alliance, you will be the youngest member in the history of the Heavenly Alliance. It is not just for this test but for all the previous ones. From the Heavenly Alliance's establishment until now, you have always been the youngest member. That seemed to be the case. Normally, there were many outstanding talents like Xiaochen and the other super factions. For example, the Bushin Palace, which controlled the 8 great empires, and the Universe Origin sect, which controlled the Tianwu dynasty. These super factions were much more attractive to outstanding talents than the Heavenly Alliance. In reality, barring any surprises, Xiaochun would enter the Bushin Palace through Ancestor Dragon City. Xiaochun. As the two chatted, Nangong Feng walked over and greeted Xiaochun. Then he smiled and said, "We will be entering the Heavenly Alliance together 3 days from now. I hope that everyone will take care of each other." The desolate city test zone is rather weak. If we are not united, we might get bullied. Right. Xiaochun did not have much of an impression of Nangong Feng, so he nodded slightly in agreement. This was good. In any case, Xiaochun would not offend the other party. If the other party was willing to be on good terms with him, Xiaochun would remain calm. "What are you doing? Why are you still here?" Nangong Feng asked softly with a faint smile when he saw Xiaochun nod. Lei Hao answered, "We are waiting for my senior brother Yunfei. He is in the loser's arena. If he is not eliminated by now and does not die, he has a high chance of obtaining one of the 10 spots in the loser's arena." There was no light screen for the loser's arena, so one could only guess. Nangong Feng said softly after some estimation. Nangong Feng's words cast a shadow over Xiaochun and Lei Hao's hearts. Indeed, it was easy to imagine that the battles of the loser's arena had reached the end as well. If one had not been eliminated yet, there were only 2 outcomes. One was that one was still fighting, and the other was that one was already dead, unable to teleport over. "I hope that Yunfei is still fighting," Xiaochun prayed in his heart. The test was very cruel. However, no matter the result, he still hoped that the people he knew could survive. The loser's arena test is over. Just at this moment, Lord Shangguan, who received the message from the throne in the starry heavens, announced loudly. Whoosh! Right after the old man spoke, a light flashed, and a fatigued and injured Yunfei appeared before everyone. After a moment of shock, thunderous applause resounded. Everyone seemed to have gone crazy. Success! In the desolate city test zone, someone survived the loser's arena's battles to the end, snatching the last 10 spots out of the 1 million people. Shock flashed in Xiaochun's eyes. He could not help clapping along with the others. Nangong Feng exclaimed in shock. It was really not easy. To be able to fight to the end in the loser's arena is no exaggeration to call it a miracle. Lei Hao felt somewhat excited. He exclaimed, "He really succeeded. Haha." 2 of Master's disciples entered the Heavenly Alliance in one go. Before everyone's eyes, Yunfei stepped forward and arrived before the purple-haired old man to receive Lord Shangguan's reward, including Xiaochun and Nangong Feng. A total of 3 people from the desolate city test zone entered the Heavenly Alliance. Congratulations! 1 more of the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's disciples entered the Heavenly Alliance. I'll take my leave first. Nangong Feng smiled as he congratulated Xiaochun. Then he took his leave. His master was probably going to feel depressed again. After waiting for so long, there was finally a good result. Yunfei managed to fight his way out of the loser's arena. After everything ended, old Chui gathered Xiaochun and the others. He smiled and said, "Come back with me first." The city lord still has something to discuss with the other sovereign emperors. This time, you have gained face for the city lord. In the future, people will not talk behind his back. 2 days later, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor summoned Xiaochun and Yunfei to their residence in Desolate City. Before Xiaochun died, he had returned 5,000 primeval heavenly pills to the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor did not stand on ceremony, directly putting away the primeval heavenly pills. Right now, Xiaochun did not lack primeval heavenly pills. "You'll be leaving in a day. I really can't bear to part with you. I really can't bear to part with you," the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said somewhat ruefully as he looked at Xiaochun and Yunfei. Then his gaze fell on Xiaochun. After some thought he said, "This is especially so for you, Xiaochun. I have not even truly interacted with you for a month." The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor wanted to say something, but found that he did not have much to say. After all, he was not a person who was good with words or emotions. "I won't say much. Is there anything you want to know about the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters? You can ask. This is also the time to tell you. It is not considered a leak." Chapter 21:12. What was there to ask about the Heaven Alliance? Be it Xiao Chun or Yun Fei, they would definitely be curious about the Heavenly Alliance. However, even though he wanted to ask, he didn't know where to start. Master, just what kind of organization is the Heavenly Alliance? Yun Fei asked. What kind of organization was the Heavenly Alliance? It was said to be an organization formed by the merchant associations of the world. How did it operate? How did it coordinate the interests of the various merchant associations? What did joining the Heavenly Alliance mean? Were those merchant associations not members of the Heavenly Alliance? It seemed like a simple question, but it was actually filled with many mysteries. At the mention of this topic, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor showed a somewhat complicated expression. He said softly, "The Heavenly Alliance's accumulations are rather weak. It was established after the previous Great War between the righteous factions and the demonic factions. Not only were they plundered and massacred by the various demonic sects, but they were also extorted by the forces of the righteous path. Without top martial power, no matter how much wealth you have, it's all in vain." After that, the top 10 merchant associations of the martial epoch worked together to form the Heavenly Alliance. Their goal was to gather the strength of everyone and create their own top-notch combat strength that belonged to the various large merchant associations. They would nurture them without any regard for resources. Facts had proven that as long as there were enough resources, peerless experts could always be nurtured. Furthermore, when the Heavenly Alliance was established, it used all sorts of treasures to attract some neutral foe gods, finally allowing the Heavenly Alliance to become a new super faction. Now it has the capital to contend with the other super factions, and will no longer be extorted or suppressed. Yun Fei asked doubtfully, "The righteous Dao factions will also extort merchant associations?" The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said indifferently, "Of course, they will be suppressed if there are benefits. Furthermore, those sects and empires cannot compete with professional merchant associations in terms of business. Furthermore, there were some merchant associations that pursued profits too much, causing the sect to loathe them. Since I can't compete with you, I'll just have to use force to take it. Otherwise, if you take all the benefits, how will the sect survive? There's no right or wrong in this. It's just a battle of interests. In fact, even now, the Heaven Alliance is forced to give up a lot of its interests when it encounters some troublesome factions." At this point, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor paused for a moment before continuing. "Let me return to the earlier topic. After the Heavenly Alliance became a super faction, some interesting things happened." What interesting phenomenon? Those merchant associations discovered that they could no longer control the Heavenly Alliance. However, that was the truth. Now the Heaven Alliance was no longer an alliance of merchant associations. Now the various merchant associations are the subordinates of the Heavenly Alliance. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said seriously. "Hence Yun Fei, you asked what kind of organization the Heavenly Alliance is. More accurately speaking, the Heavenly Alliance is the super faction that controls the merchant associations in the world. The difference in power has changed long ago." Xiao Chen was slightly startled, but he did not change too much. Strength reigned supreme, and the weak were prey to the strong. The martial epoch always followed this rule. Since they had the strength to destroy others at will, why should they listen to the orders of these merchant associations? "Master, I understand." Yun Fei nodded, indicating that he already understood what kind of organization the Heavenly Alliance was. At the end of the day, the Heavenly Alliance was a colossus that ruled over countless chambers of commerce and had subsidiary forces all over the Great Thousand Worlds. However, only a small number of people were in control of these behemoths. These were the official members of the Heaven Alliance. One could say that Xiao Chun and Yun Fei joining the Heavenly Alliance meant that they were the masters of these subordinate factions. No matter how much authority those famous merchant associations had or how many resources they controlled, their statuses were lower than Xiao Chun and Yun Fei's. After that, Yun Fei asked many more questions about the Heavenly Alliance, and the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor answered them all. "Xiao Chun, do you not have any questions?" The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor asked when he saw that Xiao Chun had been listening. Xiao Chen entered deep thought before replying. Actually, I do not have much to ask. I only care about how many benefits I can obtain by entering the Heavenly Alliance, and what the price is. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor smiled when he heard that. Xiao Chen was so direct that he did not know how to answer. Compared to the other super factions, we might have to pay more. Due to the Heavenly Alliance's accumulations, it is more utilitarian. It will maximize the value of every member, unlike the other super factions. At the mention of this, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor felt helpless. Although the Heavenly Alliance turned from guest to host, taking over the merchant associations in the world, the merchant associations were the Heavenly Alliance's foundation. However, the merchant association was the Heavenly Alliance's foundation, after all. Inevitably, it was more utilitarian than the other super factions. This is to my liking. This is good. Xiao Chen thought for a while. He did not mind the Heavenly Alliance's utilitarianism. They were just using each other. There was no need to be so calculative. After the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor explained a little more, he said, "As for the rest, I cannot explain it to you in detail right now. Remember, do not change your original intentions. Go back then. The Heavenly Alliance's people should arrive tomorrow." After the two took their leave, Yunfei appeared somewhat excited compared to Xiao Chen's calmness. He had lived in the peaceful Peach Blossom City for 100 years. Now he could finally enter the Heavenly Alliance. He felt like a great wind was blowing and a great rock was about to take flight. He wished that he could immediately display his abilities and fulfill his martial Dao ambitions. "Xiao Chen, what are your thoughts on entering the Heavenly Alliance?" Yunfei asked. "Me? I don't seem to have any thoughts. I just hope to gain the strength to match a sovereign emperor." Right now, Xiao Chen's vision was no longer limited to the sovereign personage realm. His temporary goal was to gain the strength to fight a sovereign emperor as soon as possible. Yunfei smiled and said, "After we enter the Heavenly Alliance, it is just a matter of time before we become sovereign emperors. We should aim higher." Early the next morning, the blazing sun rose from the east of the overflowing sea. The surface of the sea shimmered with light. Everyone in Desolate City watched this scene. This scene was pleasing to the eye and shocking to the eye. Every sunrise left a deep impression. Xiao Chen, Yunfei, and Lei Hao got up on time to exercise in the courtyard. After a while, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor appeared at the same time with a gray-robed old man. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor pointed to Xiao Chen and Yunfei. The gray-robed old man nodded slightly and sized up the two. Xiao Chen knew that this old man should be bringing them to the Heavenly Alliance. "Come with me then." The gray-robed old man walked over and looked at Xiao Chen and Yunfei. He did not say anything more. This straightforwardness made Xiao Chen and Yunfei somewhat uncomfortable. The two were stunned for a while before saying their goodbyes to Lei Hao and the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. As Lei Hao watched Xiao Chen and Yunfei being led away, he felt very complicated. He knew that after they left, Xiao Chen and Yunfei would be led away. He knew that after leaving, he would no longer have any interactions with Xiao Chen and Lei Hao. Xiao Chen felt disappointed. Only after the Heavenly Alliance's test ended did he truly taste disappointment. "Master, do I still have a chance to enter the Heavenly Alliance?" Lei Hao asked, feeling somewhat dissatisfied. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor felt some heartache. He patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and sighed. "You might not become a powerful expert just by entering the Heavenly Alliance. You will have plenty of opportunities." However, Lei Hao smiled bitterly in his heart. This answer told him that he had no chance of entering the Heavenly Alliance. If Xiao Chen were as young as Xiao Chen, he would definitely have a chance. However, he was already close to 100 years old. He could not wait for the next Heavenly Alliance's test. After leaving the residence, the gray-robed old man called Nangong Feng over. Then he brought the three to Desolate City's city lord Shang Guanyun. The two each took out a damaged jade pendant. The jade pendants matched perfectly. Then, Shang Guanyun activated an extremely hidden Dao platform in the city lord's residence. Work hard. Entering the Heavenly Alliance does not mean that it is over. This is just the beginning. You still have a long way to go. Don't disappoint me. When the three stepped onto the Dao platform, The purple-haired old man warned solemnly as he looked at Xiao Chun, Yun Fei, and Nangong Feng. We will follow Lord Shangguan's instructions. After Shangguan Yun withdrew, Yun Fei looked at the hidden Dao platform under his feet. He asked curiously, "Where are we going? Are we going directly to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters?" "No, we are going to meet up with the people from the other test zones first. With your authority, you cannot use the Dao platform to teleport to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters," the gray-robed old man explained casually as he busied himself with activating the Dao platform. "Meeting up? I can finally see the experts from the other test zones." Xiao Chun felt anticipation in his heart. Chapter 21:13. When the Dao platform activated, the figures of Xiao Chun, Yun Fei, and Nangong Feng turned hazy. As space changed, all they could see was a blurry seven-colored energy flow. That was space-time turbulence, and one couldn't touch it carelessly. Otherwise, one would get lost within. When his vision returned to normal, Xiao Chun found himself on an even larger platform. There were many other sovereign personages like Xiao Chun on the Dao platform. All of them had deep cultivations and a strong aura. A fearsome sharpness hid on their faces. All of them were peak sovereign personages. Some of them had cold expressions, while others had arrogant expressions. Most of them were like Xiao Chun, sizing up the other kings. Thinking about it, these people should be the 110 people who would be joining the Heaven Alliance this time. Who were the 4 heaven-defying human kings: Saber Demon Wu Meng, Grim Reaper Lin Feng, Sword Venerable Gong Zilan, and Spear King Mou. Xiao Chun thought curiously in his heart. His gaze fell on a burly man with thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a face full of stubble. The bearded man carried an ancient dragon-toothed saber on his back. The saber's body was intertwined with canine teeth, and its shape was odd. It looked quite ferocious. It was as if he could turn into a ferocious beast at any time and wreak havoc everywhere. Saber Demon Wu Meng recalled the appearance that Lei Hao described to him. It seemed to be him. Saber Demon Wu Meng sensed Xiao Chun's gaze and grinned. However, when this face smiled, it really didn't look good. It looked even more frightening. Xiao Chun nodded slightly in response to her smile. So cold. All of a sudden, a shiver ran down his spine as a terrifying chill swept out in all directions. A cold-looking young man with a spear on his back appeared on the platform and scanned the platform. The coldness came from his gaze. It was the Spear Sovereign Mou. This person should have cultivated his Ice Dao domain to a certain level. Xiao Chun thought to himself, my Thunder Dao domain should not be able to defeat the other party. Hua! Before the shock from the Spear Sovereign Mou faded, a deathly intent spread across the platform. It caused one's entire body to feel uncomfortable, and their hair to stand on end. They had no choice but to circulate their quintessence to disperse this deathly aura. Grim Reaper Lin Feng, Nangong Feng said in a deep voice. He frowned as he looked at the black-clothed youth on the Dao platform. You know him? Yun Fei asked in surprise. Nangong Feng nodded. In the first stage, I was placed in the same mystic realm as him. I was nearly eliminated by him. He is an invincible existence. To the people of our mystic realm, it's a nightmare. No one is willing to run into him. His Death Dao domain is too despairing. Death Dao domain. Derived from the Dao of Death, it was hundreds or even thousands of times more difficult to cultivate than the great Daos of wind, fire, thunder, and lightning. To be able to comprehend the Death Great Dao into a Dao domain, this person must have paid an extremely terrifying price. Cultivating this kind of dark martial arts could cause one to go berserk if they were not careful. It was best not to provoke this person. It could be seen that the examinees who came with Lin Feng all kept a distance from him, not daring to get close. When all the candidates had arrived, a huge silver warship appeared on the platform, its entire body shining with a cold luster. With a single glance, one could tell that it was a divine material. It was a special metal that had been forged through tens of thousands of processes. Everyone is here? The cabin door opened and a middle-aged man dressed in green walked out. He was as handsome as a man from a painting. He glanced at the crowd and said softly, The azure-clad man had the same plum blossom symbol as Lord Shangguan embroidered on his chest, with 6 petals. The center of the flower looked like snow, and the petals were inlaid with golden threads. This exuded nobility and pride, looking extraordinary. Lord Mu, all the new members of the Heavenly Alliance are here. An old man responsible for welcoming the newcomers said respectfully after stepping forward. The azure-clad man nodded slightly and praised, "Not bad." The potential and strength of this batch of members far surpassed that of the previous batches. I'm afraid that there will not be so many peak sovereign personages joining the Heavenly Alliance for many years to come. In the entire martial epoch, there were more than 1 million sovereign personages in the Great Thousand Realms. Only 110 people were allowed to enter the Heavenly Alliance. With such strict standards, it would be strange if the remaining people were not strong. Good. Before you go to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters, you will have to undergo a final test here to determine your ranking. Actually, this ranking is not very useful. It is only related to some rewards. Hence, I hope that you will not treat this as a fight to the death. Just stop when you are exchanging pointers. Otherwise, it will be my Heavenly Alliance's loss if you suffer any internal injuries or hidden injuries. Lord Mu looked at Xiao Chun and the other participants. After a pause, he continued. So end this quickly and stop when you are done. There is no need to worry. I cannot make out your strength. Even if a victor is not decided, I will know who is stronger. When Xiao Chun and the others heard that, they felt stunned. Unexpectedly, the third stage would be so casual. However, when they thought about it, this made sense. The first and second stages were very cruel. Everyone felt very tense. If they were not careful, someone might really die. At that time, it would be the Heavenly Alliance's loss. Now we will start fighting in pairs to determine the top 50. The top 10 with the total points of the first stage will advance to the final stage. This was a special treatment for the seated participants. The remaining 100 people would fight in pairs. As this was just exchanging pointers, everyone held back. The battles progressed very quickly. When one felt that they could not defeat their opponent, they decisively admitted defeat. There were cultivators who clearly could not defeat their opponents but wanted to drag things out. Lord Mu reprimanded them and declared them to be losers. Xiao Chun was pretty lucky. He won 2 rounds in a row and entered the top 20. This attracted many people's attention. Clearly, many people had heard that he was the youngest member in the history of the Heavenly Alliance. The 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages were Saber Demon Wu Meng, Grim Reaper Lin Feng, Sword Venerate Gong Zilan, and Spear Sovereign Mou. Aside from them, the most well-known was the white-robed bladesman Xiao Chun. I really couldn't tell that he could make it into the top 20 at such a young age. He is rather capable. Incredible. However, this is not a true fight after all. We cannot take it too seriously. As the discussions continued, the final round was about to begin. Xiao Chun and the other 9 participants would face the top 10 experts who advanced to the final round. The final round begins. Your final privilege is to choose your opponent. Whoever wins will enter the top 10 and proceed to the final competition. Lord Mu said softly as he looked at the top 10 participants of the first stage. Immediately, Xiao Chun and the other 9 felt somewhat nervous. They all hoped that the 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages would not choose them. The 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages were already publicly acknowledged as unrivaled among sovereign personages. The others could not be a match for them. Whoever was chosen by the 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages would lose for sure. They would not have any chance of entering the top 10. My opponent is him. Xiao Chun looked around. Unfortunately, the one who chose him was Sword Venerate Gong Zilan, one of the 4 heaven-defying experts. While Xiao Chun felt somewhat disappointed, he quickly adjusted his state of mind. Xiao Chun showed a calm expression as he stepped forward and performed a cupped fist salute. Peach Blossom City's Xiao Chun, please give me some pointers. You can still remain so calm when facing me. This is truly shocking. Sword Venerate Gong Zilan's handsome face exuded a righteous aura, giving off a feeling of righteousness and untainted by evil. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and did not deny it. He gestured with his hand and said, "Make your move then." "As you wish." Clang. Gong Zilan frowned slightly. Immediately, a sharp light appeared on his face. Like a treasure sword being unsheathed, it turned into a sharp sword move and launched itself at Xiaochen. Ferocious, sharp, upright and upright. This was a terrifying arrow that seemed to crush everything. This was Gongzilan's sword Dao, the king's sword Dao. Ding, ding, dang, dang. In that instant, Xiaochen moved as well. However, he did not move his feet. What moved was the saber intent in his heart, and the saber moves in his entire body. The flawless saber Dao used the body as a saber, his hair as a saber, and his clothes as a saber. Xiaochen's fine black hair and clothes fluttered. He clearly did not move, but his clothes fluttered along with his fluttering hair and fluttering clothes. His saber moves were like a vast army surging. When Gongzilan charged over, Xiaochen drew his tyrant saber and clashed with the other party's upright and upright sword move that contained the king's sword Dao. Dang, dang, dang. The weapons clashed. In the blink of an eye, the two exchanged more than 100 moves. Their figures crisscrossed, and afterimages filled the air. The saber and sword danced chaotically, creating a magnificent and chaotic mysterious phenomenon. Clearly, many people had not expected such a scene. To think that Xiaochen could last so long against Gongzilan. Whoosh! After exchanging another 100 moves, the two of them separated from the mysterious phenomenon. There were already some sword wounds on Xiaochen's body. However, there was a faint saber wound on Gongzilan's face. The two were evenly matched. Unexpectedly, there was no clear victor in this exchange. Lord Mu did not call for me to stop. It looks like he thinks that my sword Dao will have some difficulty defeating you. However, I have a method that can make you admit defeat now. Gongzilan sheathed his sword, and his lips curled up in a confident smile. Xiaochen said calmly. In that case, bring it out and let me see. Gongzilan smiled faintly and held two fingers together. Suddenly, a strand of sword light condensed at his fingertips. Whoosh! The instant the sword light appeared, Xiaochen felt a piercing pain in his eyes. He felt some fear in his heart, so he quickly took a few steps back. Xiaochen narrowed his eyes and looked carefully. He saw a leaping golden line in that sword light. Divine energy. This Gongzilan actually managed to cultivate a strand of divine energy as a sovereign personage. A divine energy that only divine Vein Realm sovereign emperors could grasp. Xiaochen smiled bitterly. There was indeed no need to continue fighting. Clearly, Gongzilan had already cultivated this strand of divine energy to perfection. Combined with Gongzilan's sword Dao, even if Xiaochen took out the Taiji Yinyang flame diagram, he was not confident of blocking it. Whether Xiaochen dared to block it or not was another question. Once he failed to block it, this sword light containing divine energy could instantly severely injure him. If it were a true fight, the best choice would be to leave quickly when the other party used divine energy. There was no need to gamble on the unknown. Gongzilan was indeed one of the 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages. To think that he managed to cultivate a strand of divine energy. This made Xiaochen feel helpless. There was no need to continue. Xiaochen smiled bitterly and shook his head. Then he sheathed his saber and performed a cupped fist salute. I lost. Thank you for letting me win. Gongzilan smiled faintly and scattered the sword light. Then he held up his sword and moved back. In the final ranking matches, Xiaochen could only reach the top 20. His exact rank would depend on Lord Mu. Chapter 21:14. It was regrettable to lose, but that was all. Xiaochen took his leave calmly. The defeated 10 did not need to continue fighting. Lord Mu, who had 7 plum blossom petals embroidered on his chest, would determine their ranking based on their performance. Yin Fei and Nangong Feng walked over. The two were not as good as Xiaochen, unable to make it into the top 20. To think that he managed to cultivate a strand of divine energy. This Gongzilan is really a monster, Nangong Feng said somewhat aggrieved. After advancing to the divine vein realm, one's veritable essence energy would evolve into even stronger divine energy. In front of divine essence, true essence was just like paper paste. It was completely 2 different levels of things. There were not many opportunities. Xiao Chun thought that if he used his heart flame together with the god Shadow Bao, he might have a chance. After all, this was not a true fight. While he had a soul tool, the other party might have one. This is simply like cheating. No wonder he is a heaven-defying sovereign personage. How despairing, Yun Fei sighed softly. The 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages, Grim Reaper Lin Feng, Saber Demon Wu Meng, Spear Sovereign Mou, and Sword Venerate Gong Zilan, were not people to offend. If you had not run into Gong Zilan, Xiao Chun, you might have made it into the top 10, Nan Gongfeng said objectively. At the same time, he wanted to console Xiao Chun, not wanting him to feel too depressed. Xiao Chun smiled and said, "It's fine. A defeat is a defeat. It does not matter whether I can make it into the top 10 or not. In any case, we will enter the Heavenly Alliance in the end. There will be opportunities in the future." Xiao Chun. Just at this moment, a figure walked over to Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun looked carefully. It was Qiangying. This was the first peak sovereign personage that Xiao Chun met in the Heavenly Alliance's first stage of the test, the Ink Sea Cluster's Qiangying. To think that Qiangying managed to make it out of the losers group and get to Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun stepped forward with some pleasant surprise and said, "Unexpectedly, you really made it." Qiangying smiled and said, "I said it before. As long as there is a losers group, I will definitely climb out. I will set you as my goal and surpass you." Xiao Chun admired Qiangying's character. This person came from the outer endless sea cluster, and it was not easy for him to reach where he was now. He had a tenacity and a drive that would never admit defeat. Xiao Chun smiled and said, "I'll wait for you. Let me introduce you. This is Yun Fei, my senior brother from the same sect. This is Nan Gongfeng, who is in the same exam area as me. He's Qiangying from the Ink Sea Cluster. He's the first expert I met in the first stage." After a round of introductions, the few of them slowly became familiar with each other. Unknowingly, the topic shifted to the 4 heaven-defying experts. Qiangying said in a deep voice, "These 4 fellows are all heaven-defying existences. However, the strongest is still Grim Reaper Lin Feng. He's simply too dazzling. Even the combined brilliance of everyone in our cohort is overshadowed by him. Wu Meng and Mou are about the same. Gong Zilan is slightly inferior." "What do you mean?" Yun Fei asked. "This Gong Zilan managed to cultivate divine energy as a sovereign personage." Qiangying explained, "This Gong Zilan is definitely not weak. Even without divine energy, he would rank in the top 4, slightly stronger than us. However, he is only slightly stronger. He can be called a heaven-defying sovereign personage only because of his divine energy. He definitely did not cultivate this divine energy by himself. He must have had some fortuitous encounter, which allowed him to succeed in cultivating it by chance. When we reach the Sovereign Emperor realm, everyone will have divine energy. His advantage will no longer be obvious. However, the other 3 are different. Lin Feng relies on his Death Dao domain, Wu Meng on his Saber Dao, and Mou on his spear. Once they reach the Sovereign Emperor realm, their advantage will strengthen further. Gong Zilan's advantage will seem mediocre." Nan Gongfeng nodded and said, "That's true. However, it is hard to say if this Gong Zilan has any other means." Right. As the few conversed softly, the ranking battles ended in a rather peaceful atmosphere. After all, it was just an exchange of pointers. The atmosphere was still very friendly. Lord Mu started to call out names. When he called out someone, he would tell them their rank and give them a Heavenly Alliance medallion. Xiao Chun. Upon hearing his name, Xiao Chun stepped forward and performed a cupped fist salute to Lord Mu. The azure-clad man looked at Xiao Chun and sized him up. Then he nodded slightly and said, "Not bad. You truly deserve to be the youngest person in the history of my Heavenly Alliance. I have long wanted to meet you. I heard that you even rejected Lord Swearenji's invitation. I am very curious. Can you tell me the answer?" Xiao Chun replied after some thought, "Freedom." Freedom. Lord Mu felt stunned. When the Heavenly Alliance was first established, it had been a very loose alliance. At that time, the Heavenly Alliance's cultivators were the freest, able to come and go as they pleased. The atmosphere of the alliance was also different from now. However, now the atmosphere was already very different from before. Time would slowly change a person. Time would corrode the human heart. Under the baptism of time, the Heavenly Alliance slowly changed. Who could do anything about the passing of time? Lord Mu handed the Heavenly Alliance medallion to Xiao Chun. Then he said softly, I ranked you 11th. If you had not run into Gongzilan, you would have been able to enter the top 10. You might even have been able to enter the top 5. The medallion contains the rewards for the 11th rank, as well as some uniforms and inherited Dao tools for the Heavenly Alliance's members. Thank you, Lord Mu. Xiao Chun put away the medallion and stepped back. Then he fiddled with the medallion and found it to be rather heavy. There was a storage space inside the medallion. It seemed to be a secret treasure in itself. Due to the restrictions, Xiao Chun could not open the storage space. Then, he saw the others recognizing the medallion as their master. Xiao Chun did the same. A drop of essence blood came out of his fingertip and fell into the medallion. Immediately, the surface of the black medallion slowly melted like snow. The front of the medallion appeared. The 7 golden shards fit together perfectly, forming an ancient divine character. The background was an ancient bronze mirror burning with flames. The back of the medallion was smooth and exquisite, showing a vast snowy scene. An indistinct 8-petal plum blossom appeared in the snowy scene. However, only one of the 8 plum blossom petals lit up. The others appeared dim. Xiao Chun thought about the 7-petal plum blossom emblem on Lord Mu's chest. This might represent his rank. After injecting a strand of his soul into the medallion, this Heavenly Alliance medallion became perfectly bound to Xiao Chun. There were still some things in the storage space inside, including the ranking rewards. However, he did not have time to check them out now. Lord Mu said loudly, Congratulations on officially becoming members of the Heavenly Alliance. Do you see the plum blossom on the back of the Heavenly Alliance medallion? Only 1 petal is lit up. What you need to do in the future is to contribute to the Heavenly Alliance by continuing to light up the petals. With every lit petal, your rank in the Heavenly Alliance will rise by 1 rank. Right now, you are still low-level members of the Heavenly Alliance. The authority and resources you have are very limited. Indeed, it was as Xiao Chun guessed. The plum blossom petals represented one's rank. As for the 7 golden shards and the ancient bronze mirror, Xiao Chun did not know what they meant. After giving some instructions, Lord Mu got everyone to board the silver warship to bring them to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. After Xiao Chun boarded the warship, he was informed that there were limited rooms in the warship, requiring 4 people to a room. If there were no cultivators with better abilities, Lord Mu would randomly assign 4 people to a room. Coincidentally, Xiao Chun, Yun Fei, Nan Gongfeng, and Qiangying chose a room. After entering the warship's guest room, the 4, who originally thought that the space would not be large, were startled. The interior of the guest room was exquisitely decorated, looking gorgeous and elegant. Everything was perfect and pleasing to the eye. There were ancient paintings on the walls, furniture made of divine wood, and screens clearly the work of a great master. The precious spirit fruits on the plates on the table made one sigh at the wealth of this warship's master. This Lord Mu really has deep accumulations. Just the plate of spirit fruits on the table is probably worth millions of primeval heavenly pills. Yun Fei could not help praising as he casually picked up a spirit fruit and stuffed it into his mouth. The maidservant responsible for serving the 4 smiled faintly and said, Everyone can enjoy these spirit fruits as they please. If you need more, you can summon this maidservant at any time. Milords can enjoy everything in the room at any time. There is no need to stand on ceremony. It will still be some time before we reach the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. After the introductions, Xiao Chun nodded slightly and said, You may withdraw first. We will call you again if there is anything. All right. This maidservant will stand guard outside the door. If you have any instructions, I will come immediately. The maidservant smiled and bowed to take her leave. Her graceful figure appeared indistinctly as she bowed, inviting one's imagination. He really knows how to enjoy himself. My master is also a member of the Heavenly Alliance. However, he is 1 rank lower than this Lord Mu. It is just 1 rank, but the difference is like heaven and earth. No wonder Master dreams of becoming a doyen. Nan Gongfeng sent off the pretty maidservant with his eyes, feeling somewhat reluctant to part. Yin Fei guffawed and said, Nan Gongfeng, unexpectedly, you have such tastes. He seems to have said that if you have any instructions, I can come immediately. Although the four of us share a room, if you need us, we can leave for a while. If you don't mind us watching, of course, that is fine as well. Scram. Nan Gongfeng said softly, hiding his embarrassment as he gave Yin Fei a look of disdain. Upon seeing Nan Gongfeng's embarrassed state, Xiao Chun and the others could not help laughing. Everyone look. What did I discover? Qiuning searched the room and opened a secret room. To think that it was a cultivation room. The group quickly put down what they were doing and went in to take a look. They immediately sighed in amazement. This cultivation room had a peak spirit gathering formation under it. The ceiling was decorated with gemstones, forming a starry sky. When one blinked, it looked like a vast starry sky materialized into a beautiful painting. It was like one could pluck stars with a wave of one's hand. The lamp on the wall gave off a faint fragrance. Xiao Chun took a whiff of the fragrance. When one took a whiff, it stunned both the physical body and the soul. They felt comfortable and refreshed, instantly forgetting all their worries. The lamp oil should have an extraordinary origin. However, the group's knowledge was limited, so they did not know what it was made of. Nan Gongfeng stepped forward and carefully observed it. Then he said, My master once said that there is a deep-sea gigantic beast, the cruel demon Xianjing, in the bitter sea of the 7 great forbidden seas. The cruel demon Xianjing has a kind of fragrance in its body that can be refined into the peak lamp oil in the world. Many large Buddhist temples use this kind of lamp oil. I suspect that the lamp oil in here is the one I mentioned. The bitter sea was one of the 7 great forbidden seas. It was a place where the 7 bitter sufferings of the world gathered. Birth, aging, sickness and death, resentment, separation from love, and unattainable desires. It was a vast and boundless sea of bitterness. It was filled with unknown dangers. If one was not careful, one would sink deep into it, unable to extricate themselves. Xiongning pointed to the primeval heavenly pills in the spirit gathering formation. These primeval heavenly pills were much darker in color than the ones in everyone's hands. The spirituality of these primeval heavenly pills was nearly solid, visible to the naked eye. These are primeval heavenly pills refined from medial-grade spirit jades or superior-grade spirit jades. They are completely different from the primeval heavenly pills refined from inferior-grade spirit jades in our hands. Primeval heavenly pills were heavenly pills refined from inferior-grade spirit jades and superior-grade spirit jades. The primeval heavenly pills refined from inferior-grade spirit jades circulated in the central great realm, as medial-grade spirit jades and superior-grade spirit jades were much rarer in comparison. Yin Fei sighed. This Lord Mu is not simple. He is definitely not an ordinary doyen. Chapter 21:15. The extravagance of the warship's guest rooms shocked Xiao Chen's group of 4. This was truly extravagant. They felt like country bumpkins entering the city. Everything they saw shocked them for a long time. It looks like I really hope to stay in the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters longer. Staying in this guest room for a lifetime would not be a loss, Nan Gongfeng sighed. Indeed, this kind of cultivation environment was truly an eye-opener. This was at least 100 times better than Xiao Chen's cave in the Heaven Dragon Palace. Most importantly, he could use the resources in there as he pleased. Should we pour out some of this lamp oil? If we sell it in the future, it might fetch a sky-high price, Yin Fei said softly as he looked at the dreamy lamp oil. Xiao Chen said calmly, It is best not to. Right now, we feel that these are all precious treasures, worth cities. However, our horizons are too low. After we enter the Heavenly Alliance, we might not feel this way anymore. That's true. Oh right. Have you seen the storage space in the Heavenly Alliance medallion? The things in there seem pretty good. Yin Fei reminded them. With this reminder, Xiao Chun and the others remembered that they should take a look at the rewards in the Heavenly Alliance medallion. The group went to the table in the reception hall and sat down. Then, they took out the items in their medallion's storage space. There were not many things, but they were more or less the same. Since they did not advance to the top 10, their rewards were about the same. Xiao Chen's ranking reward was 10 million primeval heavenly pills, 9 medicinal pills for treating injuries with varying effects, and a jade bottle containing an unknown essence liquid. Aside from these rewards, there were the basic tools that everyone who joined the Heavenly Alliance received. Of the 2 books, one introduced the Heavenly Alliance's organizational structure and how to deal with specific matters. A book to help newcomers familiarize themselves with the Heavenly Alliance. Aside from the Heavenly Alliance, there were also detailed records of the other super factions. The other book was called the Myriad Item Register, an encyclopedia that introduced the various aspects of the martial epic in detail. This included the origins of the martial epic, historical records of the wars between righteous factions and demonic factions, many rare herbs, divine materials, ever-changing stars, and all sorts of strange things. Not bad. These 2 books can answer most of our questions. This is especially so for the Myriad Item Register, which is very helpful for broadening our horizons. Xiao Chen gave the 2 books a cursory look and became very engrossed, feeling very interested. Not only did the All Creation list introduce various resources, but it also explained various martial arts techniques, secret techniques, and cultivation methods. All of them were written by faux gods. It was not just for broadening one's horizons, but was also helpful for cultivation. What's Essence Myriad Item Register? Everyone was rewarded with a bottle of liquefied elemental essence. Because of the ranking, the amount of liquefied elemental essence was somewhat different. Bai Yunfei opened the bottle cap and sniffed it. He did not feel anything and asked in confusion. Xiao Chen put down the Myriad Item Register in his hand and picked up the jade bottle. More accurately, it should be called Origin Liquid. The spirit jade origin is the source of the jade mine. If all of them were taken away, the jade mine would not dry up and new spirit jades would not be produced. Normally, they would only take a third of it before going down to retrieve it. They would have to wait for 1,000 or several thousand years before the spirit jade origin would recover. This unrefined primeval origin liquid can be perfectly absorbed by the physical body without any side effects. It has many wondrous uses. It can strengthen the physical body, convert bloodline energy, aid cultivation, and recover from severe injuries. Sovereign emperors can even use origin liquid to recover quickly when their divine energy runs dry. When Yunfei heard that, he quickly closed the bottle. Unexpectedly, the most valuable reward of the ranking battles was this origin liquid. This was a treasure that even sovereign emperors would treasure. It had many wondrous uses and could be said to be omnipotent. Although it has many uses, it is too comprehensive. It does not have any outstanding advantages, which can be considered a disadvantage. However, the most proper thing is that it has no side effects and does not require an alchemist to refine it. Xiao Chen smiled faintly as he continued. He had the most origin liquid. The others only had 5 kilograms, but he had more than 250 kilograms. How did you know? Yunfei and the other 2 asked out of curiosity. Xiao Chen pointed to the Myriad Item Register in his hand, smiling without saying anything. Also, what is this? Xiaoning asked in confusion as he put on a pair of black gloves. These gloves were very thin. After putting them on, he revealed half a finger. There were 7 pieces of metal imprinted on the back of the gloves, forming ancient divine characters. It was the same as the image on the front of the Heavenly Alliance medallion. However, there was no bronze mirror. This was not a reward but a tool that came with every new member of the Heavenly Alliance. There was no record of this in the Myriad Item Register. When Xiao Chen put it on, he felt that it was strange as well. Nangong Feng smiled and said, "Let me tell you what this is. I guarantee that it will be an eye-opener." Soul energy fluctuations appeared on Nangong Feng's body, and the ancient divine characters on the back of the gloves flickered. In the next moment, silver liquid metal flowed out from Nangong Feng's wrist, looking incredibly mystical. Then the liquid metal covered Nangong Feng's arm, forming gauntlets, wrist guards, and shoulder guards. Then it continued to spread, covering the entire body, forming a set of silver battle armor shining with flowing light. the battle armor, shoulder guards, leg guards, arm guards, and combat boots. None of them were missing. Silver light flickered endlessly, forming a complete set. This greatly startled Xiao Chun. Be it the battle armor, shoulder guards, arm guards, or leg guards, they were all inherited Dao tools. This was a perfect set of battle armor formed by a complete set of inherited Dao tools. Not only that, but there was something even more shocking. The materials used to forge this battle armor seemed to be made of countless divine materials, somewhat similar to the materials of the warship they were currently on. Nangong Feng stood up. The silver battle armor covered his entire body, giving off a flowing light. Every part of the armor was connected to the Dao. Under the contrast of this divine battle armor, Nangong Feng looked very heroic, giving off an overwhelming aura. After Nangong Feng activated this set of mysterious battle armor, Xiao Chun, Yun Fei, and Qionging felt a strong pressure. This, even with Xiao Chun's extraordinary mental state, he was still somewhat shocked. Not long ago, Xiao Chun had seen someone in the Divine Dragon Empire, wearing a complete set of inherited Dao tools. But that was because he didn't know that not only was the quality of the individual parts incomparable, but the whole was also incomparable. After seeing Nangong Feng's battle armor, and thinking back to the Golden Dragon race's Qin Outyan's battle armor, Xiao Chun felt like Nangong Feng came from the countryside. Who knew where he came from? Xiao Chun, now that I'm wearing this set of alloy battle armor, you have no chance of victory against me. Nangong Feng said confidently. This set of battle armor did indeed give off an extraordinary aura, shocking everyone. Xiao Chun did not deny it. This set of battle armor seemed much stronger than it looked on the surface. If they fought, victory would be hard to say. However, Nangong Feng's words were just a casual remark. He was not the only one with this set of battle armor. Xiao Chun, Yun Fei, and the others also had it. Alloy battle armor? Xiao Chun asked, feeling suspicious when he heard Nangong Feng mention it. That's right. It's the alloy battle armor. Nangong Feng smiled faintly and withdrew the battle armor. The silver battle armor immediately turned back into liquid metal, and flowed back into his unremarkable black gloves. Seeing the others looking at him curiously, Nangong Feng smiled and continued explaining. The so-called alloy is made by mixing hundreds or even thousands or tens of thousands of divine materials in a precise ratio. Then a grandmaster blacksmith would have to refine them. Only after tens or hundreds of years of continuous tempering can the final alloy be formed. In the martial epoch, divine materials were resources that could be called divine materials in the Great Thousand Realms. They were already considered peak materials and extremely valuable. Divine materials were the strongest metals that naturally existed in the Great Thousand Realms. There were only about 1,000 kinds of metals that could be called divine materials. Without exception, they were all extremely rare existences. Alloys were made by mixing these divine materials through a mysterious formula and tempering them for tens or hundreds of years. Furthermore, a grandmaster blacksmith was needed to guarantee a success rate. Then the martial epoch's strongest metal would be formed. It was easy to imagine the terrifying effects of tens or hundreds of thousands of tempering. Among the 8 superfactions, only the Heavenly Alliance was rich and had the most grandmaster blacksmiths. Of the 8 superfactions, only the Heavenly Alliance, which was rich and had the most grandmaster blacksmiths, could forge the alloy battle armor on a large scale and provide every member of the organization with a set. In terms of accumulations, outstanding talents, and peak combat prowess, the Heavenly Alliance was weaker than the other super factions. Without the alloy battle armor, the Heavenly Alliance would not be able to compare to the other super factions. Otherwise, such a wealthy organization would have been destroyed long ago. After hearing Nangong Feng's introduction, the other three's horizons were indeed broadened. Alloy was already extremely precious, yet the Heavenly Alliance forged such a set of alloy battle armor for every member. A super faction truly lived up to its name. Now that they thought about it, the requirements to join the Heavenly Alliance were already so strict. Why did more than 1 million sovereign personages risk their lives to take the test? This was not without reason. The charm and attraction of a super faction were simply too great for a cultivator. I learned all this from my master, Sovereign Emperor Xingge. He once showed me his alloy battle armor, and told me a little about it. There is a total of 3 grades of alloy: Transcendent Alloy, Immortal Alloy, and Eternal Alloy. Each grade is split into 9 stars. If we make sufficient contributions to the Heavenly Alliance, we can collect divine materials to continue strengthening the Transcendent Alloy battle armor. Nan Gongfeng's explanation revealed the Heavenly Alliance's boundless charm, stirring up the imaginations of others. Xiao Chen activated his alloy battle armor. The silver armor, which shone with a flowing light, covered all the vital spots on his body. Xiao Chen's delicate appearance and silver battle armor complemented each other perfectly, making him look valiant and extraordinarily handsome. He was like an immortal soldier or immortal general walking out of a painting. Elegant, cold, proud, noble, extraordinary. Damn. Xiao Chen, you look like a completely different person when you wear this armor. Nan Gongfeng looked at Xiao Chen with some incredulity. This set of armor completely changed Xiao Chen's aura. His normally reserved sharpness, his extraordinary pride, and his hidden domineering aura were all displayed without a doubt. The 3 retreated. The pressure from Xiao Chen was much greater than after Nan Gongfeng put on the alloy battle armor. They quickly activated their own armors. Otherwise, they would not be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen smiled faintly at Nan Gongfeng's praise. Then, he carefully experienced the various mysteries of the alloy battle armor. Interesting. Every part is an inherited Dao tool. However, when put together, it is not messy at all. They are all lightning attributed inherited Dao tools that are perfectly compatible with me. The Heavenly Alliance's people are really thorough. With the help of this set of armor, the might of my Thunder Dao domain can increase by at least 30%. What was even more mysterious was that Xiao Chen discovered that his strength seemed to affect the alloy battle armor. For example, his physical body was the awakened blue dragon divine body. The alloy battle armor seemed to benefit from it, further strengthening its defense. Suddenly, inspiration flashed in Xiao Chen's mind. He figured something out. This set of alloy battle armor was a set of alloy battle armor. This set of alloy battle armor brought out the Thunder Great Dao not because it was lightning attributed in the first place. Instead, it sensed Xiao Chen's Thunder Dao domain and automatically turned it into the Thunder Great Dao. It was just like how the alloy battle armor's defense strengthened when it sensed Xiao Chen's blue dragon divine body. That was to say, Xiao Chen comprehended the Ice Dao domain. The great Dao that the alloy battle armor brought out might be the Ice Dao. Yin Fei and Xiaoning discovered this as well. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. The blacksmith who forged this alloy battle armor was indeed a grandmaster. His blacksmithing skills had already reached a level that they could not comprehend. Chapter 21:16. Alloy Battle Armor. A complete set of inherited Dao tools forged from transcendent alloy, Xiao Chen thought. Its practical value already far surpasses that of some inferior grade soul tools. Fortunately, alloy battle armor was hard to forge. If the Heavenly Alliance gave its sovereign personages each a set of alloy battle armor, it would simply be unrivaled. Unifying the entire Great Thousand Realms would not be a problem. Xiao Chen took a look. After the gloves were activated, they turned from black to silver. The ancient divine characters formed by the 7 golden shards on the back of the gloves looked even more mysterious and extraordinary. Xiao Chen also saw similar divine characters on the Heavenly Alliance medallion. However, he did not know what they meant. Around the divine character were 9 stars that formed a circle around it. However, only 1 star was lit at this moment. This meant that this transcendent alloy battle armor was only 1 star. Just 1 star was already so strong. How strong would it be if it was fully lit? Xiao Chen felt anticipation. After entering the Heavenly Alliance, he would be able to wait and see. Dang, 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 dang. While wearing the alloy battle armor, the 4 carefully exchanged moves in the room. Unfortunately, they were in the warship and could not fight without restraint. However, their excitement was indescribable. After the excitement, the 4 reluctantly took off the alloy battle armor. How strong! I really look forward to reaching the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. A super faction is truly unimaginable. Yun Fei said with an excited expression. Xiao Chen's state of mind had already calmed down. He was sitting quietly by the window, drinking a cup of tea and reading the mysterious book, List of All Things. Outside the window was the starry heavens. Countless stars stretched out as far as the eye could see. Through the window, one could see the sea of stars, admiring the countless wonders of the starry heavens. It had to be said that living in this warship was truly a delightful thing. One could eat precious spirit fruits at any time. One could admire the boundless starry heavens outside the window. If one wanted to cultivate, one could use the peak spirit gathering formation and casually consume primeval heavenly pills made from medial-grade spirit jades. For example, Nangong Feng would even call in the pretty maidservants outside to tease them. There were all sorts of furniture in the room. There were casually placed decorations, exquisite screens, and paintings hanging on the walls. Just any one of them would make one ponder for a long time. They were all ancient artifacts, all extraordinary. Occasionally, the four of them would drink tea and chat, exploring martial techniques with each other. They were never bored. He also heard from the maid that there was a tavern inside the warship. If one wanted to drink, they could go there at any time. However, the tavern would charge a fee. In the dark, gloomy, and empty universe, this super battleship made entirely of immortal alloy. In the starry sky, he flew like a phantom of flowing light. It looked as if he was constantly leaping and jumping, walking on the edge of space. If the transcendent alloy battle armor that Xiao Chen and the others were wearing was already priceless, then the value of this warship made of immortal alloy was so horrifying that Xiao Chen and the others did not dare to imagine it. It could only be said that the more he learned, the more he found the owner of this warship, Lord Mu, to be unfathomable. At this moment, in a room filled with colorful lights inside the battleship, Lord Mu was meditating with his eyes closed. In the next moment he opened his eyes and said calmly, "Come in." Xiao. Without a sound, a gray-robed old man appeared in the room filled with seven-colored light. The old man said respectfully, "Lord Mu, according to your instructions, I have personally looked through the information on these 110 people. I found something interesting." "Oh, tell me about it." Lord Mu raised his eyebrows and asked with interest. He was just following the usual procedure and checking the new member's identity again. Usually there wouldn't be too much of a problem after going through the examination of the various examination areas. There's nothing special about the others, but there are two people worth mentioning. Which two? Grim Reaper Lin Feng, and the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's follower Xiao Chen. Lord Mu raised his eyebrows and said in a low voice, "Tell me." This Lin Feng is a flood dragon human. 200 years ago, he was a genius disciple of the underworld god Hall. Someone made an exception and accepted him. He was a true genius disciple, and the underworld god Hall thought very highly of him. We spent a lot of resources to nurture him. Someone once said that he might become a sovereign emperor before the age of 100. Lord Mu frowned slightly. The underworld god Hall was one of the righteous path's mortal enemies. It was established by the netherworld's strongest race, the Azura race. Historically, the underworld god Hall had once ruled the abyssal underworld, dealing a catastrophic blow to the human cultivators of the Great Thousand Realms. During the previous Great War between the righteous and demonic factions, the Black Dragon King started it after he ruled the 9 layers of the abyssal underworld. After that, the entire martial epoch was nearly destroyed in that great war. The world tree broke, the heavenly realm collapsed, and order fell into chaos. To think that Lin Feng was once an underworld god Hall disciple, and a flood dragon human. Such a person should not have been allowed to participate in the test. Continue. Lord Mu's interest was completely piqued. The old man nodded and said, "However, 100 years ago, he suddenly betrayed the underworld god Hall, and killed more than 100 underworld god Hall elders. Then he crippled his demonic Dao cultivation, aside from his death Dao domain. His cultivation fell from Sovereign Emperor to Cloud Sea Star Venerate. Is there a reason for this? Yes. Rumor has it that his lover had an extreme body and caught the eye of the underworld god Hall's Vice Hall Master. For the sake of currying favor with that Vice Hall Master, his master sent his lover away behind his back, completely underestimating Lin Feng's love. After that, such a tragedy happened. Before he left the abyssal underworld, he swore 1,000 cycles of reincarnation oath to the Azura Blood Sea. If he did not destroy the underworld god hall, he would turn his soul into a malicious spirit, never to reincarnate, wandering the Blood Sea. Even if he died, he wanted to see the underworld god hall destroyed. After the gray-clad old man finished speaking, Lord Mu's expression turned grave. This oath was extraordinarily heavy. It was no wonder that the assessment area he was in did not suspect his identity. The person who swore such a heavy oath had an irreconcilable relationship with the underworld god hall. He would rather give up on reincarnation and turn into a malicious spirit to see the underworld god hall destroyed. This is a troublesome character. Such a person has too much resentment. He might fall into the demonic Tao at any time. This is a double-edged sword. There should be people in the Heavenly Alliance who like such a character. They are good at killing. Lord Mu smiled self-mockingly. After some thought he said, "Let's talk about Xiaochen. I'm very curious. Would there be any problems with the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's disciple?" Based on Lord Mu's tone, he seemed to be old friends with the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor, and had a pretty good relationship. Clearly, the gray-clad old man knew this. He hesitated before saying, "That is not a problem." However, in truth, he might be even more problematic than the one above. "Oh, what do you mean?" This Lin Feng was a flood dragon human who once joined the underworld god hall. If he was not careful, he might fall into the demonic Tao. Could Xiaochen's problem be greater than his? Lord Mu expressed his confusion. It's a long story. He is a demonic genius of the Divine Dragon Empire. He has shown his brilliance long ago and is extremely famous among the mixed blood dragons. However, during the competition between the 7 outer palaces, Ancestor Dragon City's elders suspected that there was a problem with his bloodline. Then he refused to accept it and refused to test his bloodline. He disobeyed the elders and used the Supreme Dragon Fist to defeat the Golden Dragon race's Qin Mu's Emperor Dragon Fist. Supreme Dragon Fist? Yes, that is the Supreme Dragon Fist. That is the Supreme Dragon Fist created by that strange genius of the Divine Dragon Empire, the Heaven Dragon Cultivator, who once shook up the entire Great Thousand Realms. When Lord Mu heard this, he guessed the ending. The Supreme Dragon Fist defeated the Golden Dragon race's Emperor Dragon Fist. It would be strange if the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor could remain calm. Back then, that Heaven Dragon Cultivator nearly scared him to death. Now, how could there be another person who successfully practiced the Supreme Dragon Fist? As a member of the dragon race, how could he leave behind future trouble? Lord Mu also understood what the gray-robed elder was talking about. The Bushan Palace behind the 8 great empires was a righteous Tao faction like the Heavenly Alliance in name. Although they fought intensely, they were on the same side. If the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor used the Bushan Palace's name to ask for Lin Feng, things would be difficult. No matter what happened to Lin Feng, the Underworld God Hall would not dare to come to the Heavenly Alliance to ask for Lin Feng. At that time, if the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor heard that the Heavenly Alliance had sent its youngest member in history and learned that it was Xiaochen, he would definitely not be able to remain calm. "My lord, what do you think?" Lord Mu raised his eyebrows and smiled faintly. "What do I think? Do you think I fear the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor? If the old ancestor of the Golden Dragon bloodline comes, I definitely cannot block him. However, he can forget about it. Even if he cannot sit still, he has to. I, Mu Qing, will protect this Xiaochen." Chapter 21:17. Hence, one had to break the mundane. However, the fourth move's name was in the mortal realm, which contained profound Buddhist principles. In the current martial epoch, one could only cultivate to faux god at most. One could no longer cultivate to true god. The seemingly simple Buddhist Gatha actually contained all sorts of methods. After comprehending it, one would be able to comprehend the true meaning of this move. Even with the immortal alloy warship speed, the group traveled only half the distance after traveling for 1 month. 2 months later, Nangong Feng said joyfully when he entered the room. Soon 1 month had passed. Xiao Chun and the others were informed that they had traveled only half the distance. They saw a vast and boundless continent hovering in the dreamy starry heavens in the distance. The golden continent stretched endlessly into the starry heavens. The vast scene that Xiao Chun and the others saw was just the tip of the iceberg for the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. Time passed slowly. As Xiao Chun worked on his saber technique, the immortal alloy warship approached the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. The surroundings were densely packed with people moving around the huge cauldron, continuously transporting all sorts of materials. Then more than 1,000 blacksmiths executed hand seals together, using the astral flame to forge secret treasures. Fortunately, Xiao Chun and the others were in their cultivation rooms unaffected. Xiao Chun's talent and comprehension ability were worth the Heavenly Alliance protecting. Since Lord Mu already made up his mind, there was no need to say anything more. However, after thinking about it, Xiao Chun did not think much of it. Given his current strength, if he used his full power, he would be incredibly huge. There were huge cauldrons more than 30 kilometers tall. Occasionally, lights flickered on this incredibly vast golden continent. The many Grandmaster-level alchemists and blacksmiths of the Heavenly Alliance worked anxiously. However, Xiao Chun did not find this too boring. He had already finished practicing the first 3 moves of the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique. He could make use of this time to study the middle 3 moves. In the mortal realm, 3 life flower and colorless killing. The ceiling of the Great Hall was 10 kilometers tall. Complicated and profound formations covered it. Just looking at them made one dizzy. After some thought, Lord Mu said, "Find a time to let this grim reaper Lin Feng meet me. I want to test him." There were millions of medicinal cauldrons and artifact cauldrons. The immortal alloy warship seemed to jump through space in the boundless starry heavens, traveling through thousands of stars and heading for the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. At this moment, Xiao Chun glanced back and saw a starry sky outside the window. Fortunately, Xiao Chun had the Sarira left behind by the great limitless Buddha. After fusing with it, his Buddhist nature was already comparable to that of many senior monks and masters. Everyone stepped forward. Yin Fei and the others were somewhat surprised. They did not expect that they would have the opportunity to enter the faux god world to cultivate. The real gods that still existed were those who had survived the previous great war between the righteous path and the demonic path. Really, for the past 1 month, Xiao Chun had mainly studied in the mortal realm. This was a very interesting Buddhist saber technique. The first move of the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique was breaking the mundane. There were many troubles in the mundane world, such as birth, aging, sickness and death, love, hate and separation. Unfortunately, the saber technique manuals were already scattered in the great 1,000 realms. It would be difficult to collect them all. The Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique had a total of 11 moves. It was derived from the first move of the primogenitor grade cultivation technique, the Gautama divine palm, and was incredibly mighty. It seemed like someone was refining stars and absorbing the flames of the stars to refine secret treasures. When facing Lord Mu, Xiao Chun and the other peak sovereign personages did not dare to say anything. Be it the might and pressure from Lord Mu or his position in the Heavenly Alliance, Xiao Chun and the others maintained a respectful attitude towards Lord Mu. Right after Lord Mu spoke, pillars of light shot down from the ceiling and encased these Heavenly Alliance newcomers. The many stars in the universe could not withstand his destruction. After all, they could not compare to the central great realm. That place was the center of the martial epoch. The entire world contained the epoc's power. It was practically impossible to destroy it. Originally, Lord Mu had grasped 3 moves. However, after exchanging with the little monk Yin Qin, he obtained another 3 moves. Nangong Feng smiled and said, "The 3 of you have been staying here for the past 2 months. How could you know? The newcomers in our batch definitely have people with strong backgrounds and are well informed. It would not be difficult to go to the taverns and find out about this." When everyone heard Nangong Feng's introduction, they found it incredibly mystical. This supercontinent was even larger than many stars. It was truly a little too shockingly large. In the mortal realm? The Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. That supercontinent was made up of 7 golden shards. When viewed from the starry heavens, this supercontinent flickered with golden light, looking like a star. Nan Gongfeng and the other two rushed over. As they looked at the floating golden continent in the distance, they felt shocked. Even for a sovereign emperor, the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique still possessed strong might. The Heavenly Alliance's headquarters is really ridiculously large. Xiaochen felt somewhat shocked. He saw many stars floating above the headquarters, looking like mung beans dotting that boundless continent. It was a special space similar to the heavenly realm. However, it could not compare to the heavenly realm in the end. The gray-robed old man was not surprised by Lord Mu's decision. After all, he was the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's disciple. I, Mu Qing, will protect the Xiaochen. Soon, an intense collision rang out, and the entire alloy warship shook intensely. Nan Gongfeng nodded and said, "It's true. Only the 8 superfactions are qualified to send their new members to the Faux God world to cultivate for 10 years. After these 10 years, if we want to enter the Faux God world in the future, we will have to pay a huge price. Otherwise, we will have to advance to Faux God realm to enter. Time flows very slowly in the Faux God world, 10 to 1 compared to the outside world. That is to say, 10 years in there is actually only 1 year in the outside world." Xiaochen discovered that the 110 new Heavenly Alliance members were in an empty hall, looking around curiously. The warship is preparing to descend on the headquarters. "Everyone, please enter the cultivation rooms and do not make any strange movements." The Faux God world? Lord Mu's voice rang out in Xiaochen's ears. Then, he and the other 3 entered the cultivation rooms protected by formations and waited. If they went by themselves, it would take them more than 10 years to reach the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. Lord Mu looked at everyone and said, "According to tradition, the newcomers will be sent to the Faux God world for 10 years of bitter cultivation. I hope that you will cherish these 10 years. It was not easy for the Heavenly Alliance to send you in. Remember to abide by the rules of the Faux God world. After 10 years, when you come out, you will be official members of the Heavenly Alliance." From the alloy battle armor to the Heavenly Realm fragment before them, to the Faux God world that they were about to enter, Xiaochen felt that he had become a true member of the Heavenly Alliance. Chapter 21:18. This feeling? Enveloped by the light, Xiaochen felt an indescribable pressure. It was very uncomfortable, and gradually, he even felt some pain. However, Xiaochen was considered lucky. Among the 110 candidates present, there were already people screaming miserably. Their eyes were bloodshot, and blood seeped out. Lord Mu's expression was solemn, and he said nothing. The other elders beside him were not surprised either. So uncomfortable. My eyes. Ah. Every realm had newcomers who would die in the process of heading to the Void God realm. The Void God realm, and the Great Thousand Realms they were currently in were 2 completely different material realms. The flow of time here was 10 times slower than in the Great Thousand Realms. During the teleportation process, one's physical body had to endure the pressure. Lord Mu sincerely wished them good luck. He also hoped that he could help these people. However, there was no other way. Whether or not he could get through this, he could only rely on himself. Actually, a large part of the reason why the Heavenly Alliance's threshold was so high was because it lowered the threshold. Many people could not enter the Faux God world, harming themselves instead. However, if one could not enter the Faux God world, joining the Heavenly Alliance would be pointless. These 10 years in the Faux God world were too crucial. The reason why a superpower could widen the gap between itself and the other powers was because of its core members. No other faction had the privilege of entering the Faux God world before advancing to Sovereign Emperor. This was something that no other faction could do. Not to mention the various experiential training grounds in the Void God realm, and the various secret techniques that were hard to find in the outside world. Just the 10 to 1 ratio of time was enough to create a gap between them. Think about it. If you cultivated in the Great Thousand Worlds for a year, then I cultivated in the Void God world for 10 years. It went without saying who would be stronger. So. With a flash of light, Xiao Chun and the others disappeared from the spacious hall one by one. Lord Mu was slightly startled. How rare. This batch actually managed to smoothly enter the Void God realm. Not a single person's body exploded along the way. Among the 1 million sovereign personages, the 110 are indeed extraordinary. The gray-robed elder sighed softly. Lord Mu nodded slightly. You go to the headquarters to take over. I'll take them to the sanctuary to report. Yes, my lord. Lord Mu's body slowly turned incorporeal, and he vanished into thin air. In a daze, Xiao Chun opened his eyes. His face was pale, and he seemed to be in a bit of discomfort. Looking around, he realized that most of the others were clutching their heads and squatting on the ground. Fear was written all over their faces. Everything around him was a blur, filled with 7-colored streams of light. Xiao Chun knew that this was the reversal of time and space. Very good. I'm very happy. You've all made it. In the past, there would always be people who died while traveling. Lord Mu's figure reappeared in front of everyone. His words made everyone rejoice. In another 15 minutes, we will reach the Void God realm. Right now, come to my side and seize the time to rest. Remember, don't move. Space-time reversal is everywhere. If you enter, you will die unless you're a faux god. Mu Qing's expression was solemn. She formed a seal with her hands and ripples appeared under her feet. Xiao Chun and the others had no idea what was going on, but they still hurried over, not daring to hesitate. When everyone was close, Mu Qing crossed her hands and formed a seal. Light runes condensed into an energy ball that enveloped everyone. We're here. Lord Mu said softly. Immediately, Xiao Chun and the others perked up with curiosity. He arrived at the Void God realm? Through the energy ball, everyone hurriedly looked outside. Xiao Chun raised his head and saw the endless darkness of the drill. The air was filled with mysterious air currents. The airflow seeped into the energy ball and entered everyone's body, making everyone feel comfortable all over. The discomfort and fatigue from before were all gone. This is the power of the world, the most primitive and ancient power in the world. It forms the foundation of all living beings and non-living beings. Unfortunately, there is very little of it now. You don't need to deliberately absorb and refine this world energy. Your realms are not high enough to comprehend the power of the world. To you it is like air. Lord Mu said calmly when he saw the joy on everyone's faces. Air? Xiao Chun took a deep breath and sighed in his heart. If this was really air, he really wanted to be able to absorb it forever. Xiao Chun looked into the distance. The sky was chaotic, and winds and clouds churned. Strange cracks appeared indistinctly in the sky. It was like the Void God realm was not completely separated from heaven and earth. The entire world was gray and hazy, without much color. This place looked very primitive. Even the air felt ancient. Xiao Chun looked around. Occasionally, a bright light flashed in his eyes. This place was too mystical. The air of this place actually contained many primitive great Tao. Wind, fire, thunder, and lightning. The Tao of these great Tao merged completely with the air. It was like the primal chaos had yet to split apart. It was fragmented and complicated, very contradictory. However, as he breathed, he could feel the various Tao at any time. Xiao Chun had to admit that this was too mystical. The others discovered the various mysterious phenomena as well. Excitement appeared in their eyes. They were right to come to the Void God realm. Lord Mu is too awesome. How did this place form? How is this a heavenly realm ruin? It is clearly a treasure land. A member exclaimed excitedly. Mu Qing said indifferently, this is the primal chaos space. It has existed since the Great Desolate Aeon. During the Immortal Epoch, it was modified into the Heavenly Court. During the Martial Epoch, it became the Heavenly Deity World. Now everyone is used to calling it the Void God Realm. To us, this is indeed a treasure land. However, that might not be the case for ordinary people. This place is different from the main world. It cannot give birth to life. Due to the primal chaos, everything here is the most primitive. It is much easier for us to comprehend the great Tao here than in the Great Thousand Realms. You can even see some of the laws of space and time, and the circulation of great Tao energy with your naked eye. We are about to reach the holy domain. Lord Mu looked into the distance and said indifferently, the holy domain is the only continent that the foe god realm opened in the primal chaos using the power of the world tree. In the future, you will cultivate and live in the holy domain. Remember to abide by the rules there. Who controls the holy domain? In Xiao Chen's memories, someone seemed to have mentioned the holy domain to him before. However, he had not expected it to be in the void god realm. The master of the holy domain is a true god who managed to survive the previous great war between the righteous factions and demonic factions. However, they can only live in the void god realm now. The flow of time in the outside world is too extravagant for their limited lifespans. Now it is mainly managed by the 8 super factions. True gods still exist. Many people exclaimed in shock. True gods were the peak of the martial Tao. These were legendary existences. Don't make a big fuss. Otherwise, if you disturb some ancient existences, even I will not be able to save you. We have arrived. After Mu Qing finished speaking, she led the group to descend. A complete continent finally appeared in the hazy space. After everyone landed, they felt much more at ease. Earlier, they had been drifting in the air. Even with Lord Mu's protection, they had been on edge. This was the holy domain, the only complete continent in the void god realm. However, what appeared in front of everyone was a seemingly substantial energy barrier that blocked everyone's line of sight, making it impossible to see the appearance of the sanctuary. Alright, I will send you off here. Later, a holy domain envoy will come to receive you. You will spend most of your 10 years in the void god realm in the holy domain. Remember to abide by the rules here. After all, my heavenly alliance is not considered strong among the 8 super factions, and cannot provide you much protection. If you cause trouble, no one will be able to save you. Lord Mu gave them his final instructions. Ah, Lord Mu, you are leaving? Many people were startled. Unexpectedly, Lord Mu was leaving. Lord Mu smiled faintly and said, it is just 10 years. 10 years is not long. After 10 years, you will be formal members of the Heavenly Alliance. I look forward to seeing how much you will improve in the next 10 years, and whether there will be any changes to your previous ranking. As Lord Mu spoke, 3 figures passed through the barrier and appeared before everyone. The person in the middle arrived before Mu Qing. After the two exchanged a few words, Lord Mu quickly left. Come with me. Don't worry too much. You just need to cultivate in peace. The Holy Domain treats the members of the 8 super factions equally. The blue-clad Holy Domain envoy said softly. The blue-robed Sacred Domain emissary said softly, and pointed with his finger. A mark appeared on everyone's forehead. When they opened their eyes in a daze, they discovered that the earlier barrier had vanished. The magnificent Saint Domain was immediately presented in front of everyone. Chapter 21:19. A group of people blocked the entrance and looked at Xiaochen coldly. However big the sacred region was, this city was as big as it was. Xiaochen could not be bothered with them. Although the physical pressure was somewhat great, it was still within the acceptable range of his blue dragon divine body. Xiaochen shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Then, he prepared to head for the 100,000 steps. Many cities that were hundreds of times smaller than the divine capital hovered in the sky. Many foe gods discussed in soft voices as they watched Xiaochen's group from these floating cities. Along the way, several cultivators who came down guessed Xiaochen's identity when they saw his alloy gloves. They all smiled coldly. Soon, the Heavenly Alliance's 100-odd people scattered and started to choose their own houses. Incredible! Even the geniuses of the Universe Origin Sect, Bushin Palace, and the other super factions are only at this age. After the Holy Domain envoys took their leave, Xiaochun, Yunfei, Qionging, and Nangongfeng gathered together, feeling incredibly excited. They could also sense the foe god world's existence and enter it with their own strength. Alright, that's all that needs to be said. I've also told you some of the rules. Now I'll repeat myself. The True God Palace is a forbidden land. Do not approach. If you disturb the True God, the organizations you are in will be affected. After sorting out his strength, Xiaochen made his preparations. The divine capital had all sorts of facilities. When one cultivated here, one could practically find everything one wanted. Soon, Xiaochen found a courtyard. There was a dim doorplate outside. When Xiaochen infused his soul energy, the doorplate flickered with a bright light, revealing Xiaochen's name. A ruthless person. That's right. Rather than paying attention to this person, it is better to pay attention to this generation's Lin Feng. I heard that this person comprehended the Death Dao domain. Back then, he destroyed his demonic Dao cultivation technique. Now he forcefully recultivated. After stepping on it, Xiaochen felt somewhat strange. A formless force pressed down on his physical body. With every step he took, his physical body felt a little uncomfortable. Fortunately, it was still within an acceptable range. This is the Dao comprehension platform. There are many praying mats used by true gods. Comprehending the Dao here will definitely yield twice the results with half the effort, and the effects will be remarkable. However, you have to walk up these 100,000 steps one step at a time. If your physical body isn't strong, don't try it. From today onwards, I will live here for 10 years. The immortal capital is too big. I don't even know where to start. Yunfei said excitedly. If one was not a faux god, even a sovereign emperor would find it extremely difficult to enter this place. Unless one had a good relationship with one of the 8 great powers, or was originally a member of one of the 8 great powers, they could only pay a certain price and enter the void god realm to cultivate. Soaring into the air, Xiaochen flew towards the enlightenment platform in the divine capital. Back then in the Kunlun realm, Xiaochen underwent their emperor's tribulation at the same time. The emperor's road that they took was somewhat similar to the 100,000 steps before them. This was a majestic city. The 2 words divine capital intimidated everyone. Divine capital. That is the trial tower, the one that the divine master personally built. If you want to obtain faux god coins, you can go to the trial tower. Haha. We are going off topic. The Heavenly Alliance has never been famous for nurturing geniuses and outstanding talents. Although we call them geniuses and outstanding talents, they are only comparable to the Heavenly Alliance itself. They are still far from comparable to the other super factions. This is the Faux God Plaza, where the inner city and outer city intersect. The divine ranking is there. Many Faux God seniors have limited energy and can't be bothered to deal with some minor matters, so they post the ranking here. Aside from this, if something major happens, it will also be posted on the divine ranking. If you have nothing to do, you can come and take a look. Feeling somewhat rueful, Xiaochen suddenly thought of Diwuk. The city was much livelier than everyone expected. As long as one was a faux god, even if one did not belong to one of the 8 super factions, one would be able to enter the city. Ancient words were written at the bottom of the city walls. This city was called the Divine Capital. What are faux god coins? The currency in the Holy Domain's divine capital is faux god coins. As long as one has enough faux god coins, one can exchange for any resource. There are so few people, only 100 odd. I heard that they have the youngest newcomer in history, only 47 years old. Xiao Chun and the others only raised their heads to take one more look before finding it somewhat unbearable. The world spun around them, and they saw stars, feeling drowsy. Compared to Yunfei, who was at a loss, Xiao Chun was very meticulous. He had already made preparations for his plan. There are many empty houses in the divine capital, aside from the ones in the sky. As for the other empty houses, you can choose to use them as your residences for the next 10 years. Whoosh. However, these true gods rarely showed themselves. The True God Palace was also a forbidden land of the Holy Domain's divine capital. No one could get close. The Holy Domain's divine capital was such a city where all the faux gods of the entire martial epic gathered. The courtyard was very large and had an average-sized lake, somewhat similar to Xiao Chen's Cold Moon Cave residence in the Heaven Dragon Palace. Xiao Chen said calmly, "Let's find an empty house to stay in first. We can use the medallion of interest to contact each other at any time. Let's disperse for now." The barrier vanished, and a 30-kilometer-tall city wall appeared before Xiao Chun and the others. This is an arena. You can fight with people or challenge faux beasts. Of course, you need to pay in faux god coins. Plop. Xiaochen immediately knelt on the ground, nearly shattering his knees. The Holy Domain envoys were very responsible, leading the group around the divine capital and explaining the rules of the divine capital. It's a little strange. Further out were the inner city and outer city, as well as the many houses and buildings outside the city. As for Xiaochen and the others, these were the privileges of the super factions. These were the disciples of the other super factions. They had already been cultivating in the divine capital for a long time, and could easily deal with the 100,000 steps. The entire divine capital was divided into 5 layers. The core was the True God Hall. The true gods who managed to survive the previous great war between the righteous factions and demonic factions lived there. Aside from the core True God Hall, the Faux God Pavilion was next. It was like the divine capital's city lord's residence, managed by the faux gods of the 8 super factions. When the true gods did not appear, the Faux God Pavilion could be considered the core of the divine capital, managing the Holy Domain's divine capital. The various super factions had a limited number of slots for their newcomers to enter the faux god world to cultivate. The most important thing right now is to successfully practice the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique's 4th move in the human realm. After that, I can stabilize my Thunder Dao domain. I'll go to the comprehension platform first. As Xiaochen stood in the pavilion in the courtyard, he looked into the distance. He could see some other cultivators cultivating in their respective pavilions. Aside from the Heavenly Alliance's people, there were also members of the other super factions. Some of them seemed to have been here for a long time already. The Heavenly Alliance? Haha, interesting. To think that they dare to come to the comprehension platform on their first day. The Holy Domain Envoy's introduction greatly broadened Xiaochen's horizons. This place satisfied all the cultivation requirements of a cultivator. Sorry, my profound Heaven Holy Land has reserved the comprehension platform for today. Come back tomorrow. However, there is only one. It is far from comparable to the other super factions. The Holy Domain Envoy did not find this strange. He said indifferently, "The Divine Master wrote these 2 words. Just take a look and don't act rashly. Come with me into the city. I will bring you around to familiarize you with the Holy Domain's divine capital. You will be living here for a long time in the future. The Heavenly Alliance's newcomers are here as well." How unfortunate. Xiaochen soared into the air, preparing to look for a remote house. The faux god world was the only continent that the true gods carved out of the remnant world. The Holy Domain was both a continent and a majestic city that Xiaochen and the others had never seen before. Definitely. Xiaochen gently drifted down and landed firmly on the ground. As he stood below, he looked at the 100,000 steps in the distance. It looked like an endless road. Lord Mu was right. Do not be arrogant. Here you are nothing. If one did not pay attention, they would run into faux god experts. Even if they did not purposely release their auras, one would still find it hard to beat them. The comprehension platform was a 30-kilometer tall platform with 100,000 steps. At the summit was the comprehension platform with the prayer mat for the true body. Xiaochen felt some pressure. In this holy domain, it made one feel insignificant. The Heavenly Alliance's group moved majestically. As they walked on the street, they immediately attracted attention. Yes, these 10 years are very crucial. If you don't grasp it well, you'll be doomed. If we do not grasp it, we might fall behind others for life. I hope that everyone will not fall behind. Everyone here was a peak sovereign personage. All of them were proud and arrogant people. However, in this place, they had to tuck their tails between their legs. Just as Xiaochen finished climbing the 100,000 steps and was about to reach the comprehension platform, there was someone who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth, using his own aura to compete with the words divine capital. If one looked down from the sky, the 5 layers would appear orderly. They intersected with each other in an indescribable pattern, eventually gathering at the True God Hall. Chapter 2120. The profound Heaven Holy Land was one of the 8 super factions, a colossus that controlled the Shimu dynasty. The profound heaven Holy Land possessed deep accumulations, having existed for many years before the previous Great War between the righteous factions and demonic factions. If Xiaochun recalled correctly, the Heavenly Alliance's sword venerate, Gongzilan, seemed to be from the Xinwu dynasty. The tall platform had 100,000 steps. At this point, the surroundings were already shrouded in clouds. A sea of clouds churned, making the place look like an immortal realm. The 100,000 steps were not easy to walk. Anyone would feel upset if they were suddenly told that they had reserved the entire place. Naturally, Xiaochun was no exception. A total of 4 people blocked him, all of them peak sovereign personages. Xiaochun could tell that these people had been in the Holy Domain's divine capital for some time. Their auras were exceptionally dense. Their cultivations felt as heavy as a mountain, and as vast as the sea. When the 4 stood together, their auras flourished. Xiaochun looked behind him, and discovered that there was no one else on the True God prayer mats on the comprehension platform. It seemed like only one person was comprehending the Tao. What are you looking at? Quickly scram. When the person in the middle saw that Xiaochun had no intention of leaving, he felt somewhat enraged. He stepped forward and pressed down with his aura. There were 100,000 steps, and every step was filled with immense pressure. The person standing on top of the steps would be able to press down with the momentum of the steps, giving him a huge advantage. Bang! Without saying anything, that person looked down from above and punched at Xiaochun. A mysterious profound seal flickered in the fist light. This was the profound heaven Holy Land's strong martial technique, the profound heaven fist. The profound seal light spread out, materializing a 100-meter wide light wave between the fist light. Many 9 profound seals flowed in the light wave. When that person punched, it was like a small world pressing towards Xiaochun. Senior brother Hong Tao's profound heaven fist is becoming increasingly exquisite. With one punch, 9 profound seals appear. The newcomer dares to be arrogant. He overestimates himself. The profound heaven Holy Land disciples at the side smiled coldly. In their minds, their senior brother Hong Tao would knock Xiaochun into the air in the next moment. After that, Xiaochun would roll down the 100,000 steps in a sorry state. Ding! However, something unexpected happened. Xiaochun threw a punch and clashed with it. He who was at the bottom took the punch head-on. However, he was like a mountain, not moving an inch. The hazy 10,000 dragons picture appeared indistinctly behind Xiaochun. Dragon roars came from the 10,000 dragons picture, perfectly blocking this punch. You want to compete with me in fist arts? Xiaochun smiled coldly, and the hazy 10,000 dragons picture behind him suddenly lit up. Supreme Dragon Fist, leaderless dragons. The 10,000 dragons behind him roared out in rage, turning into streaks of fist light that smashed into the 9 seal light. Kacha kacha. In just a moment, the fist aura, which was like a world of 9 seals, shattered. Hong Tao staggered and almost fell. He's from the Dragon Clan. How strong? What fist technique is this? Its offensive might is nearly on par with Bushan Palace's Qin Ming's Emperor Dragon Fist. The other few people were greatly startled. They did not think that under Xiaochun's punch, it actually forced senior brother Hong Tao back. This was a newcomer to the Void God realm? Hong Tao's expression turned somewhat unsightly. He roared as he looked at Xiaochun, and his aura surged out. Hong Tao's long hair fluttered as he shouted coldly and pressed towards Xiaochun again. A profound seal appeared on his forehead, and the might of this punch was several times stronger than the previous one. Xiaochun felt slightly stunned. The Faux God realm was indeed incredible. However, he arrived a few years earlier, and this person's strength already rivaled that of the Heavenly Alliance's 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages. However, since you are proficient in fist techniques, you are destined to lose this battle. The vast and mighty group of dragons roams the world, entering the sky and the sea. Who is honored? The group of dragons is leaderless in the 4 seas and 8 directions. The world is unfair, and the evil dragons rule. Who is honored? Commanding the group of dragons. Without even thinking, Xiaochun executed the Supreme Dragon Fist's second move. A tyrannical aura that made the group of dragons submit to him appeared in his fist light. Bang! After forcefully receiving the other party's punch, Xiaochen grunted but did not take a step back. Regretless Heaven Dragon. Xiaochen executed the Supreme Dragon Fist's third move again. A terrifying offensive aura surged out from Xiaochen. The boundless aura turned into lofty aspirations, gathering in Xiaochen's punch. When he punched, it was like a regretless heaven dragon. It carried a sense of determination and self-sacrifice as it pressed forward, not retreating but advancing instead. Damn it, what fist technique is this? It is so tyrannical. Hong Tao cursed in his heart. His fist technique clearly surpassed the other parties. His cultivation also firmly suppressed the other parties. However, the offensive aura of the other party's fist technique forcibly suppressed his fist's momentum, forcing him to retreat. Bang, bang, bang. After another 3 punches, Xiaochen stepped onto the tall platform. As 10,000 dragons roared, he knocked the other party back. Plop. Hong Tao fell to the ground, and blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. Hong Tao looked at Xiaochen in horror, confusion filling his eyes. To think that he lost to the other party's fist technique. Senior brother Hong Tao. The others were greatly startled. They quickly went over and helped Hong Tao up. At the same time, Hong Tao looked at Xiaochen and raged. What a fellow! You just arrived, and yet you dare to injure the people of our profound heaven holy land. Don't you know that this comprehension platform is the territory of our profound heaven holy land? Letting you come tomorrow is already giving face to a newcomer like you. Xiaochen smiled coldly in his heart. He retorted indifferently, giving face? Never mind. My face is too thin, and I can't take it. The Holy Domain Envoy did not tell me that I have to give face to your profound heaven holy land when I come to the comprehension platform to cultivate. The Supreme Dragon Fist truly lives up to its reputation. However, this is not a place for you to behave atrociously. A person comprehending the Tao suddenly opened his eyes. His voice contained the sound of the great Tao. At first, Xiaochen did not care. Then, it gradually became deafening like a great bell, dong dong dong, accompanied by the rumbling great Tao, surging and roaring like a surging river. It was just one sentence, but it made Xiaochen's qi and blood surge. He vaguely felt cracks appear in his internal organs. As his qi and blood surged, his face flushed, and his throat tasted sweet. He could not help vomiting a mouthful of blood. The Tao voice spread out, scattering the clouds in the surroundings, and spreading throughout the entire divine capital. In an instant, many cultivators cultivating in their caves opened their eyes, and looked towards the comprehension platform. They were all surprised. Isn't Mu Yunju coming out of closed-door cultivation tomorrow? Something's not right. It seems like someone interrupted him. I wonder who it is. Interesting. Mu Yunju seems to have gained a lot from this comprehending. Let's go and take a look. Several super faction members felt somewhat curious. They either went to the highest floors of their residences or flew over, wanting to see what was going on. Pussy. In the end, Xiaochen could not hold back and vomited a mouthful of blood. As Xiaochen knelt on one knee, the Tao voice lingered in his ears, lingering for a long time. The other party's great Tao directly merged with his soul energy and entered deep into Xiaochen's soul pool. With just one sentence, it achieved the effect of Xiaochen's candle dragon eyes. Senior Brother Mu. Seeing this person open his eyes, the other profound heaven holy land disciples quickly knelt in horror. We are useless. Someone interrupted Senior Brother Mu's comprehension. Senior brother, please punish us. Hong Tao showed a horrified expression, not daring to look. He really should not have done this. Had he known, he would have attacked together and directly chased this trash away. Hong Tao only hated himself for underestimating the other party. Unexpectedly, a Heavenly Alliance newcomer grasped such a terrifying fist technique. Stand up and speak. Kneeling before an outsider is unbecoming. Mu Yunju said indifferently as he slowly stood up. He wore profound robes of alternating blue and white. Mu Yunju's expression was stern, and he gave off a frightening sharpness. So it is a Heavenly Alliance newcomer. It's over. He just arrived, and he already obtained the profound heaven holy lands Mu Yunju. This Mu Yunju ranks third among the 200-odd people of the profound Heaven Holy Land. He is terrifyingly strong. How can a newcomer who just entered the faux god world block him? Some of the onlookers sighed after seeing from afar. Mu Yunju looked around and fixed his gaze on Xiao Chun, who knelt on one knee. His expression turned cold, and disgust flashed in his eyes. Where did this dog come from? How ignorant. Scram. Mu Yunju, try and touch him if you dare. Just as Mu Yunju prepared to attack, a melodious, pleasing voice rang out from the 100,000 steps. Her voice was pleasing to the ear, but the anger and killing intent in her voice caused one to tremble in fear and tremble all over. Mu Yunju's expression changed slightly, and his movements paused. Doubt flashed in his eyes. Why is this person from the Bushin Palace suddenly interfering in the profound Heaven Holy Land's matters? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.